You saw the what?
The no major thing. Like, what is it that you didn't get? I don't know CS:GO at all, but I heard that you apparently worked with this tournament organizer called Star Ladder, and then like you were supportive of them, and then now they get to host a major, and you weren't invited.
Accurate. Okay. Yeah, true. See, what happened was at the end, they had to get final approval from Riot Global, and it's a no again, I'm afraid, guys. So, you know what? We tried again. You know, people keep telling me, you know, if at first you don't succeed, pick yourself up again. But it's a no again, I'm afraid, guys. So,
have you tried speaking to Riot Global about if you can go on a major? Have you tried speaking to them nicely instead of making the video?
Yeah, that's the thing, Loco. You know what, mate? I'm with you now. You've converted me, actually.
What?
You know what, Loco? From now on, whenever anyone has problems with Riot, what I'm going to say to them, Loco, is, have you ever thought about just talking to them, you know, talking it through? Like, you know, maybe coming to the table and you're like, meeting them halfway. Maybe
you're growing. You're being more mature.
Listen, what I'm going to say, be a bit more respectful to them, you know. Maybe then they'll hire you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, how's your life going? How's your career going?
Pretty good. I'm Riot's not wanting to work with me, so I've been starting a few projects that has nothing to do with Riot. Actually, starting one project that has nothing to do with...
But did you try reaching out to them, though, and just sort of saying sorry and, you know, trying to build, you know, make the first... offer the branch of peace?
Have you ever have to apologize?
No, I haven't. I don't think I did something particularly wrong, so...
No, it doesn't matter if you did, though. Just, you know, try and be nice to them, be reasonable to them, you know.
I'm trying my best
to be gaslight all your friends, and then every time they're in a tough spot in their life where you know they've actually been abused by people in the industry, just gaslight them that maybe it's their own fault, and literally, what's the term? It's victim blame. So,
I'm not trying to victim blame you. What the fuck?
Here's the thing, Loco.
What?
We can't go into any of the circumstances, right?
Yeah.
But Loco just said there, he's not working with Riot. He's made it quite clear on the show he wants to work with Riot, right? I hope the point people are getting, put this in the episode as well, by the way, is what Loco's just done is what always tilts the mother-loving shit out of me in esports, which is other people in esports hear that you have a problem, right? And even though if they actually found the details, they'd find out that, like, you know, you did everything you could, you went to the absolute limits of patience, you tried every after. They just, like, come with the angle of, like, why didn't you just deal with it privately? It's like, well, I did. And they go, oh, I didn't know that. It's like, yeah, maybe you should just shut the fuck up, comment on stuff you don't know about. Like, what you always do that, Loco. Didn't you tell me on this exact show?
What?
Why don't you just tone it down a bit, you know? Then you could do all the Riot desks. Well, have you been doing what I've been doing, Loco? Or did you tone yourself down?
No.
Exactly, you daft little cunt. They didn't hire you, did you? So shut the fuck up. I tell you what, how about this? Neither of us got hired, but I still got to say what I like as a free man, not a fucking slave, an actual Lieber, a free man, Loco, an educated man, an enlightened man of his own principles and values and ideals in life. I got to say what I want. I didn't get hired. You cocked yourself.
Are you fucking...
Did you get hired?
Oh my God.
No, you didn't. You didn't. So that's all that needs to be said. Shut the fuck up. I win that one 1-0. Now let's get into TSM.
Are you fucking Garage from...
And by the way, TSM would lose to Rogue.
We will never be slaves.
By the way, on the just as a quick aside as well, I'm just going to throw this out there. Locodoco had the balls to have that huge argument about whether TSM would beat like European teams, and he hadn't even watched the fucking main game in question of Rogue that everyone was talking about.
What, the Rogue OG?
After the fact. Till after the fact.
What do you mean until after the fact?
You had an opinion on a team you hadn't even seen play.
What, Rogue? No, I've been watching them play. When's the time I had the opinion?
No, he said after. He said you had the opinion first, and then...
You were like, that's outrageous. TSM would lose to that team. It's like, mate, you saw the game. I watched it like the part of your VOD. Mate, they took the best macro team in Europe and fucking tooled them with macro.
That doesn't... like, that one game...
True.
Sure, you can have that one, but that one game...
relevant, though. You need to have seen that game to know what the argument was,
that
though.
one game does not make Rogue better than... Also, I watched that game way
Obviously
before...
it doesn't.
I watched that game before and the VOD review came up late.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair
so
enough.
I had that opinion, what is it, after I watched the game. But also, like, that one game does not make Rogue better than TSM. Like, oh
I didn't
my
say it
fucking
did.
God. Dude, this argument is so fucking stupid. Like, holy fucking shit.
Just so we're clear,
yeah,
you're never going to use any arguments based around best of ones in this episode. We're just going to establish that precedent at the beginning.
No, the Rogue versus TSM argument is so fucking stupid. It's so fucking dumb. Like, I can't even believe it's a real argument. Like, why are we having this talk? Like, it's not a real point of discussion, in my opinion.
It is.
How is it a real point of discussion?
Well, because do you want to do this? Here's the two angles for which it's an entirely legitimate point of discussion.
Sure.
One, Rogue literally showed in that game better macro than I think I've seen TSM play almost every game they've ever played in LCS this year. Like, they've had very few games that had anything like that. They've had games they've won and they've closed out correctly, and sometimes they've come back. They've never done like that, Loco. Just followed a team around the map, just fucking out-thinking them every single time with a bunch of fucking rookies, remember? Not even a real lineup that ever played together. So I agree, it doesn't make them better than TSM, but it doesn't make it ridiculous to say they could beat TSM.
Because they had that one showing.
Secondly, yes, it doesn't make it ridiculous to say. Like, Loco, by your own logic, it'd be ridiculous to say they beat Origin, you dumb cunt.
Yeah.
And they just did in the best of one.
It's called an upset.
Right. And so by your logic, it would be ridiculous after seeing Rogue beat Origin to say, I think Rogue could beat Origin.
So
that's your logic.
No, that's not my.
That's your logic. That's you, homie.
Okay,
that is you. Come on.
All right.
Come on.
All right. Are you done with your point? Are you done with your point?
Don't do that. Just say your point,
okay.
Sucker.
Fuck, like, Rogue upset Origin. And then, so yes, Rogue could upset TSM, but people are not saying Rogue could upset TSM. People are saying Rogue is better than TSM. People are fucking saying Rogue would beat TSM 8 out of 10 games. Like, this is, like, It's getting to fucking ridiculous points of, like, oh my god, it's just...
Right, anyway, listen, Loco, on that point, I agree with you. I wouldn't personally say they're actually a favourite, and I wouldn't pick a ruin, like, a best of 5, whatever. So that's a side point. I'm not having that argument. I'm just saying, first of all, the idea that, like, the whole point is, one, anyone who hasn't seen the Rogue versus Origin game, don't bother commenting on this topic. You don't know what you're talking about, like, because that game is the best evidence to suggest that they could win at least once. And then secondly, the other angle I didn't mention was the big problem with this discussion, Loco, and the reason why people like you want to dismiss it out of hand without even having the discussion is you can't get your brain past the nameplates. You see TSM and your brain goes, should be the best in NA. You see Bjergsen, you go, godlike Westerner. You see Ven, you go, European champion. He was one of the best. Listen, you see all that, right? And then you look at Rogue and you think, who the fuck are these guys? Mate, right now, I'll give you a statement for you. Are you ready? Right now, some of the Rogue players are better than the fucking TSM players. I'll tell you that right now. They've got a functional jungler. Inspired is better than fucking Acadian this split, mate. He hasn't played as many games, obviously, but the few games he has, he's been way more on point than the Acadian has. Then you've got fucking Vander is a fucking beast, mate. I'll take him over Smoothie right now. Smoothie used to be a fucking sick player. Now he's just a good player who doesn't really work with his laner that well. Like, my point here is, on both angles, current form and actual players they have right now, not in the past, not 2 years ago, right now in 2019, they actually have pretty comparable lineups in terms of raw skill. And, like, the craziest one, and if you watch the VOD, you can confirm this, is no fan who hasn't watched Europe is going to think Bjergsen versus Larson could ever be comparable. Then you haven't watched Larson play. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I agree Bjergsen is better, but Larson is a lot better than an unknown player, which is what he currently is, you know.
Okay, so let's dissect that. So for the Vander versus Smoothie one, with Smoothie's form, and also even, we go into how Vander has played before, how Smoothie has played before, that one I think it's arguable either way, so I think that one, you can make a really good case for Vander, and I think you can make a really good case for Smoothie. Smoothie has been playing worse recently, where Vander has been playing better, so we can give that one to Vander. We can go over that one. The one about Inspired versus Acadian, it's something you said to me before. You said the jungler's freshman split doesn't matter that much. It's where the sophomore split, where people actually know how you've been playing, people have gotten to watch you play more, that's where you really come into your own. So has Inspired had really good early games throughout, even before this OG game? Completely. I think he's had some insane early games, like that one Rek'Sai game where he got 3 kills. He just had no idea what to do after. But to say Inspired is better than Acadian when he's shown so little, he's shown moments of brilliance, but Acadian has also shown moments of brilliance, and he's
not
also
this split.
Not this split. I mean, sure, if he can have this argument about like current form, like if he can have like
that's my point. I'm not being unfair, by the way. Obviously, Acadian's played way more pro games and has been in the final of LCS. Like, yeah, in spring, Inspired's done nothing compared to Acadian's spring split alone. But right now, it's not crazy. Like, people wouldn't realize that's not a ridiculous. Like, to say Inspired could be better than Acadian now is not ridiculous either at all.
Yes. But like, it's banking on so much potential and banking on so many things panning out. Like, there is a world, and maybe there is a world where Inspired can be better than Acadian. Like, I can have that argument, but it's just we're seeing so little, and people are making so much like overhead comments about TSM is worse than Rogue. Like, that's where it fucking tilts me. And there's also this aspect of TSM. You
know what? I'll give you an angle on this, Loco. I'll explain it to you, because one of the things I think I do a good. By the way, with Crumbz, we will actually address you, and you can talk. Unfortunately, it's like you got. It's like he got patched into like a fucking married couple having an argument or something. He's like, I'm staying out of this shit. I'm staying out of this shit, man. Like, is everyone ready for lunch now? We get dinner.
But
like,
mommy, where's my dinner?
So anyway, the one thing I will say is this, Loco. Unfortunately, this topic already has heightened emotions because it's NA versus EU, so there's that whole angle, which obviously, by the way, I agree, a lot of people are incredibly biased on either side of that. But the other angle that you have to realise is it's kind of like the episode we had last with Kelsey, where you were arguing with her about what team was it you were arguing with her about?
Fnatic versus XL, where...
Yes, that was right. Like Cadril instead of Broxah, basically. Right? The problem with that particular example is
Kelsey coached Cadril.
Yeah, notice though that these are all coaches that are making these statements, all pro players. Well, the problem is coaches, especially, always, in my opinion, have a flaw that they live in the theoretical. Like in their brain, they're like, well, it should happen. And, you know, like they'll say comments, like it infuriates me as well, Loco. Like they'll make a comment like, this team threw the game. And you're like, but why though? You know, it's like a close game. And, you know, they had a few moments where they had some lead, but they didn't have the game locked down. And they were like, and they'll say, and this is like a classic LS or veteran type comment, they'll be like, yeah, but when you got that position in the game, you should never lose. And like they act as though players are robots. And once you reach that position, you should always play out correctly. Well, the problem with that is, mate, even Faker fucks up when he's got a clean kill and sometimes doesn't get it. Even fucking the Rocks Tigers would sometimes miss macro or fuck up a Rift Herald or something, you know, like even the greatest teams don't do that. So the problem there is, and this is why I think this whole debate really happened, Loco, is the real interesting one would be like this. The interesting one would be this. I think you could make a very strong case that Splice is better than TSM. I think even stylistically, I think they've got the right players. I think they could beat TSM straight up. The problem is, like, the one about like Cadril or the one about Rogue is more like it's a purely theoretical one. So they're thinking, because better macro, better, it's like, but I don't know if that would show up in the game though. Like, maybe they just get shook and none of it would show up, right?
But none of these arguments are being had to have intelligent conversations. It's just to take shots at people. Like, it's to take shots because they don't think someone is good. Like, the Kelsey's argument for Cadril being better than Broxah on Fnatic isn't about her, like, having an intelligent argument or an intelligent discussion.
No, that's unfair. Listen, Loco, I'll give you the Rogue TSM one. That one is about using that's like a pedestal to take a shot at NA. That one is true, and TSM specifically. The Kelsey one's unfair because here's the thing, mate. She tried with you many times to have an intelligent conversation. That is one person you cannot claim will not talk to the ends of the earth about it. She would do like a 4-hour podcast on that if you wanted to.
Sure, but I don't think she's doing it to have an intelligent conversation. She's doing it because she wants to take a shot at Broxah or take a shot at my European knowledge to say Cadril's better than...
I don't think she dislikes Broxah.
To say Cadril's better than Broxah, to say the last place jungler... The jungler from the 10th place
she was saying he could be better in Fnatic. Look, you've still missed the whole point of that entire discussion, haven't you? It's not that Broxah's a bad player and Fnatic shouldn't have Broxah. The logic was that the things he was doing in Fnatic, there are actually even junglers on lower level teams that could do some of those things, or even better. The implication with Cadril was he can shot call as well, mate. Broxah can't do that. So the idea was, even if he's a worse player, maybe what he would bring would be better for the team. You should know the analogy. I'm going to give you it now. When High played support and jungle, he was nowhere near a top fucking support and jungle. In fact, the players he replaced, he was worse than. But you know what? He did add something to those Cloud9 analysts that they needed that made them, even though he was a worse player, they were a better team. You know what I mean?
But
that's kind of the argument you were making on that one.
What is it? She said there's like, 5 junglers better than Broxah, and she listed Cadril as one of them. There was definitely an angle of like Cadril is better than Broxah, not just
that's probably also what she thinks separately, I'm sure as well. Yeah,
I said yes. So there was implications behind it. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, it wasn't just
but you are reacting right now. Listen, I am saying this is flame because it's a show and flaming you is basically what I do. For
Go ahead.
It's like when I flame you, it's like when the audience says like applause, please, applause. So anyway, right? What? To be fair, like she was also in that kind of an example. I forgot what my point was there. What was the point you made just before?
What if there's definitely implications and people are like not having this discussion to have an intelligent conversation, but to take shots.
So why was she doing that though?
The Cadril for Broxah one. Wait,
what does she have to gain in just taking a shot at a player from EU?
What is it? No, to also, what is it, diss on my European knowledge? I mean, she disagrees.
Listen, I will say, by the way, like part of the reason I was loving that episode is like, let's be real. Anytime I bring LS, Kelsey, veteran, like, let's be real, Loco. I'll just put cards on the table because that's the sort of show we do, right?
Go ahead.
they obviously don't really respect your game knowledge in League of Legends. I do. I have done shows with you and invited you to my past shows anyway at Loco. But the problem is, like, they don't. And by the way, they themselves are very elitist people. They probably even admit it. Like, they only care about the people they respect. So I agree. She was probably because
their knowledge, because
like
it's
if you said
knowledge,
anything, if you were like
theoretical.
if you were like it's sunny outside, they were like technically that's actually only 24.5 degrees, and not until the sky's at the full crescent. Like she was doing a bit of that, but.
And they do it because it comes from insecurity. Like, secure people don't do that shit. Insecure people that have to...
What?
Wait. I mean, we're pretty insecure by that logic, to be fair. Like, I'm just saying. you gotta
when you do get insecure, there are, ways you act, but secure people don't need to go and, like, diss people like that, but it's people... The thing is, like, when we bring on successful coaches, like, we bring on people like Grabs, does he do shit like that? Who's, like, other people that we brought on? It's the most... I feel like the biggest like flamer episodes and the biggest like the friction episodes has been like people with something to prove, a chip on their shoulder.
Admit this, Loco.
Go ahead.
And I want everyone watching this show, and if you say no, you're a lying cocksucker and fuck you to oblivion. By the way, I can just say shit on my shows. Like, you have to realize the way I roll.
Yeah, I get it now. I'm all in.
Anyway, here's all I'm going to say is this. If anyone says they don't like those episodes with the flame and the big arguments when it get into something, you are a fucking liar. Those are some of the best episodes. Those are some of the best.
No.
One of the best episodes ever was when I kept telling Loco I was going to quit the fucking show right after that show, and then because I was in China, it randomly disconnected. And I know for that moment, part of you thought, "Shit, he's actually left, and I'm never going to see him again." I know you thought that for a moment. That was amazing.
Wait, I fucking disagree. I don't think those are the best episodes at all.
I think those are awesome.
Okay, pick your most favorite episodes that we have ever done. I already know which one.
I don't know about that. You see, the problem is we have different takes. Like, I can already tell yours is going to be some player just giving us all cool insight. Whereas to me, I love the ones where we're just arguing about shit.
Okay, sure. What's your favorite? Yeah, it's actually not that one.
Probably like that one where it wasn't even Listen Local. Probably that one we had with LS where like he literally basically borderline refuses to come on the show again after that. Because like that was the final blow, along with you having snaked him about 100 times that you have everyone else.
Wouldn't Locos be the one with the girl with Moon?
That
no,
seems like
it's not that whack.
No,
not that whack.
Okay,
no.
Come on. What are you gonna say, Loco? Come on.
It's
probably gonna be a good one.
It is a girl episode. I actually love the one we did with Lisa. I went back and I watched the Lisa one randomly because it showed on my YouTube stuff when I was playing TFT. I actually love that episode. I think we got to touch on topics we normally don't touch on. And like the Moon one was a little, it was a little ditzy, but the Lisa one, there was actually really good back and forth. So I really like the Lisa one.
Isn't that
virtue signaling?
What? You're just talking about
He was a bit. Listen, you have to understand, Crumbz. Like, Loco's like a very world, like, he's like a guy who knows the world a little bit, and he's very woke. So you have to understand, like, his favorite episode was when he just got to promote women in gaming. Because you know what? Like, let's hear it for the ladies, guys. Like, they have the hardest job in the world, and they don't get enough credit, do they? And it's about time. I mean, look at this bloody show here. 3 men in 3 positions. That's just sexist. So, Loco's all in favor of promoting equality and, I don't know, fucking fraternitas and libertas, and let's cut all the rich people's heads. I can't remember which way that one goes, but anyway, what were you saying, Loco?
First of all, how dare you assume my gender? Why'd you say 3 men? You don't know my preferred pronouns. Second of all, I actually love that.
To be fair, I've never really thought of you as an entire man. I've always thought more half a man in many ways. Anyway, should we start the actual episode? We have already 3 this is in the episode. But okay, Crumbz. But I've got a question for you first of all before we go deep into all the league shit. Which is
all right,
done.
let's go.
Let's go. Right, here's the question I have for you. Bearing in mind, close personal friend of you and I, and Loco as well, to be fair, Monte Cristo, every time he ever tweets anything about League, he gets all those replies that are like, you come crawling back to this game. Oh, I bet you miss it now. Oh, fucking, why didn't you come back to League? Even though he's almost entirely never going to come back to League at this point. Mm-hmm. How the fuck did you manage to leave League, do the Overwatch League, come back? And I feel like you escaped that backlash. How did you do that? How did you get away with that?
How did I get it? Here's the angle, right? And this is one that I'm taking to heart. I just never said anything ever.
I never thought that. I wasn't aware that was an option.
I would literally just
Did you hear that, Loco?
never said anything.
You can actually just not address stuff.
I didn't address it until you mentioned it earlier today. I literally did not address it.
I didn't message anyone that I was going to Overwatch League. I was like, this is what I'm doing. Okay, that's what I'm doing now. It was that easy. There was no magic, no nothing. Just
You have to realize, like, the Overwatch League still think Crumbs is coming out back with a pack of cigarettes in a week.
I do get occasional, hey man, would you be interested in doing this Overwatch League gig? We were looking for Overwatch commentators.
Been there, done that.
It's a slow burn one. Slow burn cigarette. It's going to take me a while.
Okay. Right, let's get into it. Okay, since we already had that discussion before, I want to get your take, actually. Right, I don't know if you ever watch LEC.
Flat out, I do not watch bottom teams.
You don't know. Right, don't worry about that. Right, well, let's talk about TSM, though, because another reason, and this is something I didn't mention earlier, because there's like a million factors stacked on as to why that, like, comment. Here's the thing, Loco. As I pointed out, I understand why it sounds really crazy on the surface, but it's not as crazy when you unpack it. Like, it's not as ridiculous, even though it is obviously picked as, like, the most extreme low team versus the most extreme high team to make the disparity look crazy to dunk on NA. But I will say this, Crumbs. One of the reasons also, to be fair, as to why that whole discussion has been ignited is because TSM as a team aren't looking that great at the moment. What do you think of TSM at the moment?
Okay, so I like to look at TSM not just in League, right? Now that I got to go to Overwatch and see a bunch of other shit, see Fortnite, see the world of esports, right? I got to actually see the world of esports. So TSM to me is no longer, it's just a TSM League of Legends organization. It's an entire esports, one of the most dominant brands. If you look at the moves that they're making everywhere else, they pale, or the League team pales in comparison to how well TSM is doing in everywhere else.
What?
So, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And so, to me, it almost looks like TSM is kind of checked out, in a way, of League of Legends. As an organization, I don't think that they're, like, I know they're doing it quite a bit, but look at what they do with Fortnite. Look at what they do in growing content. Like, they are full steam ahead. Like, TSM doesn't even have a, what do you call it?
CSGO team?
No, not a CS:GO team. The first days, the first days that you go into the LCS, they have the tailgate, and they can't even be bothered. They can't even be bothered to put a tent there to sell shit. They can't even be bothered to do interviews. So I think that they're.
It's a shame because they should get one of those guys with a grill and a barbecue, and then what he could do is after the next LCS game, he could go and he could stab very lightly Smoothie in his leg and go, put a fork in these motherfuckers because this team's done. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, so as a whole, I think that they're doing more in other areas. Like, they're moving more of the budget away from League into other areas, and so I mean that's why you have. What they're looking for, growing talent, right? So they have the academy team, they have the LCS team, they're trying to grow those together. Besides that, I just think that the problem is so deep in the lack of talent and the lack of people deciding to create systems for growing talent than just now when they're thinking, oh shit, should we try to win? Like, oh, we can't buy the talent. Oh, we should have actually cared about building a system like 4 years ago, and now we don't. How the fuck can we make a talent? The only team that's really done that is Cloud9. Cloud9 is the only team that gave a shit about it, and now it's paying off, and now everybody wants to play for Cloud9. No other team has any worth when it comes to developing talent compared to C9. So it's just they missed the ball. So now it's either, if you want to win, do you spend a shitload of money like Team Liquid, or do you put down the years to create a long plan for growing talent? I think they're building the growth of talent right now with their academy team, and it's going to take them a long ass time to take it, and that's the cheaper alternative. But that's why they're not going to be amazing this split.
By the way, just as an aside, because I've noticed it myself, every now and then Crumbz has a problem with his camera where it'll just occasionally flash.
I see it, yeah.
It only happens every now and then, though. Like, we can still see you fine. That's definitely not where the Illuminati puts in the secret, like, evil frames that, like, subliminally you just receive but don't see, like, literally.
Actually,
that would never happen on a show.
You watch it back, pause, and connect all the green frames. They do make a picture. So.
But all I'm saying is, if you are listening to Illuminati, if you sponsor the podcast for enough money, I'll consider it at least. You know, I'll at least consider it. I'll take the meetings. All I'm saying. All right. You know,
let's start addressing Crumbs' first point that TSM doesn't invest enough into League, or they're doing too much outside of League. Like
Okay, go ahead.
Did I misrepresent your idea, or can you?
No. I think at the end it was not so much that they chose not to invest more in League. It's that they're choosing just now to start developing talent. So
Right.
it's gonna look just as Cloud9 looked when they were developing talent 3 years ago. It's a
his
slow
point was
process.
this, Loco. His point was there's two real options to get to the top. You either develop the talent or you buy it that's ready-made now and it's the best player. So you either do what Team Liquid did or what Cloud9 did. And his point is TSM obviously used to do the Team Liquid approach, and now they're trying, it seems, pivot to the Cloud9 approach, like develop your own talent. But the problem is they've only just started it, so they can't have the results now because, as you saw with Cloud9, took a year or two to get that shit going.
Okay. If that's the argument, then I agree with it. I think TSM was really late to talent development, and in a sense, I think Cloud9 was exceptional at it. Where for League of Legends team, it's something that Weldon talked about. There's development teams, and then there's also championship level team. Like, it's very important to know where your team is at in terms of standing and in terms of the roster strength. If you have championship level players, it doesn't make sense to develop, especially on the main team. You should be developing under. But there wasn't Academy before. Academy is a very new thing to League of Legends, and there was only Challenger Series. And Challenger Series was not about developing players. It was more of a buy LCS players and cheat your way into LCS, not develop Academy players. So
That was fun, by the way.
So there was no real way to develop talent, and TSM constantly tried to stay in championship mode, and they try to buy out championship level players. And even when they pick up rookies, or even when they pick up new players, it was extremely hyped up rookies that was somewhat proven to a certain regard, like Centauran, Mike Young, who else?
Even Broken Blade. Broken Blade is
Blade, yeah.
actually having success in the TCS.
Probably the person with the least resume before getting picked up by TSM was probably Biofrost. Other than Bio, I can't think of anyone else that didn't have any kind of resume.
No, because Bio actually had a pretty sick resume because he was coming from, there was one
Dream Team, no? It was like
a Dream Team or a Tempo something, and not from Tempo Storm, but it was one team that had a lot of supports that could always go that team LCS, that team LCS, that team LCS. So that team was already good at doing that. And I know it was Hakuho that was also on that team, but he's in the LCS now, so nothing to.
I'm pretty sure it was Dream Team. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Dream Team, but he still had like such little resume before getting picked up. So other than like Biofrost, and even like for the Biofrost one, like they were considering players like Ignar. So yeah, TSM has never been that team where they always felt like they were in championship mode and they wanted to stay in championship mode and constantly buy championship level players. Like, it's not as distinct as like basketball where you're a rebuilding tanking team or you're a team trying to compete for a championship, but there's definitely an aspect of that to League of Legends.
How many championship players would you say there are in the LCS right now?
In the LCS, what do you mean, championship level players?
Yeah, I mean, you got 10 teams, 5 players per team, 50 players. How many championship players are there?
All 5 on TL. Cloud9, Licorice, Svenskeren, Niski could definitely be part. Sneaky, but he's like middling. Like, I could say like, out of everyone on Cloud9, like if you include Blabber and everyone, like I'm sure there's like 5. On TSM, they're supposed to be 5, but right now, that's the problem, is there 5? And what's your definition for championship level players?
You're the one that asked. You're the one that brought it up. I want to hear your definition.
My definition for championship level players that are capable of like winning championships, players that are capable of being in championship rosters.
This is the same coach thing you were saying, Thorn. This is completely theoretical. It's like, in this position, this is a championship winning player. Yeah,
what?
He literally already, by the way,
from here.
Go for it.
He just already made, like, for example, someone like Niski, a championship level player, a player who's never been in an LCS final.
I think Niski, just because you don't have the pedigree doesn't mean, you become a championship level, you're not a championship level player.
Here's the thing. I think you've gone down a cul-de-sac here. You shouldn't have gone down, mate.
What?
Like, the point you were making would have been better served if, when you said championship player, you meant as in you need like a couple of them, and we're talking like superstar players. So the idea is, a Bjergsen, Double Jensen, go down the line, Licorice. You pick like the real. And the concept would be, and I would guess most people would agree, most top teams need probably at least 2 of those players.
Yeah,
like,
2
it's
or
very
3,
rare you're going to win. Yeah, so the real and the reason why that would serve your argument, Loco, is I think at the moment you could make a strong case they only have Bjergsen on TSM, right? It's probably the only one that really fits that character at the moment.
Zven Smoothie are supposed to be those players.
I agree. That's the problem with the whole thing. That's why I said also on the whole Rogue versus TSM thing. The problem is the good Rogue players have no name. The people who have the name on TSM mostly aren't that good at the moment.
How many players have gone to North America from other regions and gotten worse?
And vast majority.
It has to be 80%.
Yeah, there's
right?
like very few. Like I could maybe Crown, Lustboy, Reino Berhuni, Bjergsen, Jensen.
Put it this way, bearing in mind in Europe, everyone always wants to believe that, for example, if any really good EU player went, they'd always smash in. It hasn't happened that many times. Like, obviously, everyone said that when Featherman came to Clutch, like, he was good, but he certainly wasn't like the best player or anything, you know? Mm-hmm. So I agree it was an overrated concept.
I mean, listen, I think the approach now is actually what Cloud9 is. You don't the import game is evolving. You don't actually import to win championships. You import for your branding, and you develop the talent, like Cloud9's done for Academy. They brought in Jukes, which is a Brazilian pro player and streamer, and the Academy streams, he brings up viewership by like 40, 50K on his own. Nobody gives a fuck about Academy except when Jukes is playing. The entire chat is Jukes. Everything that Cloud9 has to do is just spammed with Jukes. So listen, fuck importing. If every talent is gonna import and get worse, why not import, build the brand, and then you just grow the team naturally in the development mode.
One thing I've got to say, by the way,
crush it.
As an aside, since that story there is obviously hilarious, the idea that because they put this Jukes guy and they're just getting all this viewership from Brazil or whatever, people just want to follow him. What's hilarious about that is that's literally what I remember in Korea they always used to do if you ever go and watch a football game in a bar. Because I was asking like my friend who was Korean to like translate some of it. And you know, famously, you'll know him, Loco. You remember there was that Korean player who played for Manchester United like a few years back? Yeah, and famously, right, the way that they would commentate the game, even Crumbs, was hilarious. Because it was a Korean stream, the commentary would be like, and Park Jae-sun runs ahead of him, Park Jae-sun's about to receive the ball, he receives the ball, he passes it, Park Jae-sun passes to the other guy. It's like they made the whole fucking commentary about this one Korean guy because he was the Korean stream. Like, the whole game was like that. Like, he tries to make the tackle, he misses it. It's like, yeah, like it was actually outrageous how much they tailored it around that one guy. That must be the Cloud9 approach in this Academy game.
No. It kind of is. And it's even better now because Licorice is hurt. He can play full time. He plays full time on the team now. Kuma was promoted, so it's fucking great.
Then I don't think there's more players like Jukes that are like pro level that have huge Brazilian fan bases. Then would you recommend something like Mo, Yasuo, or TF Blade playing on academy teams and like teams allowing that and garnering
they would never take that. No, because that's the American streamer. You don't need an American streamer. Like, if you get that, the standard and the cost is so crazy high because you have to offset what they're making streaming already because you're eating into that. And I guarantee you they don't give a shit about that anyways. But if you get somebody that's coming from a country that doesn't have as much opportunity when it comes to making it in esports or growing your brand multinationally, well, fuck, America's amazing for that. It doesn't just have to be Brazilian fans. I'm sure that if you get some guy that caters to the Hispanic community in the United States, that you can somehow draw back, or some other community.
Claws or someone?
Holy shit, blow up.
Bring in fucking Diamond Procs for your academy team or something. There's a bunch of players you could get, I think, that could work in that sense.
Is Jukes like a full-time player for Cloud9, or is he like a streamer that plays?
He's a full-time player.
So he scrims full-time with Cloud9 Academy?
Yes. He's a full-time player.
I find that a little bit hard to believe because this guy, if he
what do you mean? It's a fact, dude. What the fuck is hard to believe about it?
No. So if this guy's like a 20K, 30K viewership.
I don't know. I haven't seen.
So if that's the number he's bringing it into academy, then I would imagine that's the number he's pulling whenever he's streaming by himself. Let's say 20K, 30K. If he's someone that can bring in 20K, 30K viewership, like his yearly salary, like in just terms of purely streaming, is going to be up to like 150 to 200.
There's one flaw with that logic, Loco.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
Bringing in Brazilian viewers, mate. Like, they aren't worth as much as the viewers from the UK, USA, and I think it's Australia, the big three or something, you know. Like, the problem is Brazilian viewers are going to be worth, like, fucking cents on the dollar.
It's actually, and I've heard this from consulting and working with people that specifically want viewers and want specific viewers. The American viewer is worth 10x every other viewer.
That's the reason why we do episodes about LCS. No one gives a fuck.
No, I
don't care about LCK, LPL.
No, it's the best.
You're right. For the sake of the show, that's what we say. Yeah, that's the lie we tell ourselves.
You'd rather have a stream with 1,000 American viewers than a stream with 10,000 viewers from, I don't know, the Baltic Sea or wherever. It doesn't matter, just as long as they're American.
Timbuktu, exactly.
Wait, isn't that a back brand?
It
It's
is
a real place as well, but never mind.
Yeah.
You know, we listen. You know the way he is, Crumbs. We just let some things go. He probably has actually tried to go on Expedia and put in fucking Narnia or something. I need to like the LAX to Narnia. It's like, I'm not getting any flights. What is it? It's not available at the moment. Is it political situation in Narnia?
Thorn.
I know there's that whole
you
thing.
wanted to go to-
Don't fucking treat me like an idiot. I know you go to Narnia through the fucking closet, dumbass.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
There was a thing with when Black Panther came out that people were sexually requesting going to Wakanda as well because they didn't know. I mean, it probably looks like a dope place. Who wouldn't want to go to there? Like, all right.
Sure.
Wait, I still want to, I guess, find out like how much viewership he pulls and like how like just the potential earning for like a 20K, 30K streamer, even if it's Brazilian viewers. I would imagine it's crazy. Like that's where when we talk about like players like Yasuo or players like TF Blade going pro, I know their viewership is more NA based, and then your argument is NA based viewership can grant you more money. Like the salary or like the potential earning for these guys, like streamers that are regular 10K, 20K streamers, like it's fucking through the roof. Like I'd imagine they easily break 400, 500,
I mean,
maybe even
by the
more.
way, that idea of importing for the clout, Team Liquid's already doing it. They already have Rakin, right? They've already recognized it. It's not even an old concept. It's fucking every team is trying to do it at the top. If Team Liquid and C9 are the two best teams, those two teams are doing it. So that should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, Echo Fox did it for their LCS roster.
No, but he's a sub. He is a sub, right? He is actually the listed substitute for. It might be the academy team, but he is eligible to play.
Right. As interesting as that little digression was, the original question was, what do you think of TSM, the team? So what do you think of their team at the moment, Crumbs? Because the implication is they don't have enough good players, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah. Man. There is no synergy with their team. Like there's just nothing is working together. Like when one guy does well, the other one does poorly. I have to always come back to the jungle role just because I have an easier time going to that. And Acadian, it's not entirely his fault, right? Like a lot of the games at the start when he was playing with Grig were not even his fault that they were losing. It was an overall team decision, but he'd fuck up and then broken. Like every single member just continues to do something bad, and it just looks like it's Bjergsen just trying to keep 4 children away from eating dirt at the playground. Like, get that out of your mouth. Wait a minute. Oh, here we got. That's why he's got to play Twisted Fate. Like this guy cannot play Azir. He has to play hard carry champions to win this game, and it kind of sucks because a lot of these players were probably better before they came to TSM. Something happens when you join this org that you get worse, and I don't know why. And I don't know why. And they're trying shit out. They said publicly they're trying shit out, right? They're trying compositions out, but it's just like, man, it looks like every single week they're just trying something new. Every week it's we got to try something. No one has the memory to stick to, and it's not just TSM. No one has the memory to stick to a plan for more than 3 weeks. It's like, you know what? We decided that we're gonna gank top. It's like, nah, this happened and now we scratched it, and then this week we try something else every single time. So it's such a problem that I see happen with TSM as well as every other team where they can't stick to a thing.
By the way, am I mistaken, or didn't I see somewhere that it was implied that they're going to stick with Acadian now?
They announced it.
They are.
Right, okay. Yeah. Right, Loco, I actually thought this storyline was dead. I thought we never had to discuss it again. What does TSM do to junglers? Even Acadian, who looked good in spring, is now ruined. They've already basically said, the whole Grig thing, that's out as well. And he was supposed to be the original jungler. Like, they just ruin all the junglers.
Look at Sven Skaren. Sven Skaren's a fucking beast now. Even Amazing's returned and did really well.
All of them.
Like, when they leave, they somehow get better. Like, this is the boogeyman of junglers, where he's like, if you go there, no, you're not going to come back.
Your soul gets trapped in a fucking emerald ring that fucking Bjergsen has. And it's not until you leave that your soul exits that
like
range.
Mithy, right? Mithy got to go, and then he returned, and he's good now, right? So he was shit there, and he's now good.
Yeah.
Sven is shit here, and he might leave and be good. Like something clearly happens when you join.
They're evil.
TSM.
Yeah, they're cursed.
So I think what
What
happened.
the fuck?
I think the issue is what the EU guys say all the time, that in NA it's your coaches and your team has a way of playing the game, and it says this is how you play the game. You're gonna accept our way, and that's how we're gonna do. Instead of, okay, what are this player's best qualities, and then compare him to his worst, and simply focusing on can we soften how bad he is, and just let him improve on his own on his strength. And that's what EU continues to do. They're just like, I don't care if you run it down. I mean, the team memes at Caps himself with Caps and Craps because of the same thing, right? He's such a volatile player. If they were to cut away his ability to int, they'd cut away his ability to carry. So instead, they just make sure that when he ints, it's not that bad.
Exactly.
All right.
That would not cut that's castrating your players, right? That's what happens. You're essentially castrating your players when you forbid
Reaper
them
did bench
from doing
him.
that.
They'd say, right, you benched, mate. Your Caps, you're fucking up, mate. Right, bring in whoever the sub mid laner is. I'm Reapered, 700 IQ move. Haha.
So-
That's all that coming, didn't you?
Let's address both. Like, does TSM make players worse, and especially for junglers? I think there's there's two separate aspects. EU players coming over to NA generally struggle. Not all players, but when EU players come
All
over to
foreign
NA,
players.
Yeah,
all foreign players that come to NA struggle.
So, and TSM is a team that imports a lot, so yes, like players generally are worse when they come to TSM, but it's also not just a TSM problem, happens to every team in the league. But does it especially happen to TSM, and does the fact that Crumbz mentioned about being a little bit stricter on how they want to play and wanting more, I guess, risk-averse playstyle, does that play a factor? I do think there is like a separate factor to it, but to say just like TSM kills all jungler, I don't think is true. But
No, we're not saying that. You're saying that.
It's too.
Remember though, Crumbs, he doesn't like when people straw man on this show. Just keep track of that, mate. He doesn't like when they straw man.
Also, I will say for this weekend, Acadian looked good. Or for last weekend, the weekend there where TSM lost to Cloud9.
Really? Let me see that. Let me look that up.
You're gonna go back and look at all the games?
No. Well, I mean, we got time. You guys might go on a rant.
Wait a minute.
I'm just looking at the
Just
schedule.
one sec, right? Loco, you're saying that this last week Acadian looked better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including
So-
the game where he tried to activate the Rift Herald right in front of the tower and got killed.
Yeah, that was.
That's a game you're picking out to highlight as a good game for him.
Right.
I just want to check.
Okay,
just want to be clear.
there's also a moment where he ganked top, where he ganked Huni top, and he read
Yeah.
the Huni flash and then followed with
First
his
of all,
own flash.
I've
There was
seen
definitely
that.
a great
I
moment.
Well,
saw
that
that.
totally redeems everything then.
Yeah. So first of all, I
thought we don't strawman on this show.
Can I be honest about this? Like, I know that that's a good play, but
Yeah.
as someone that's done that play a gazillion times, I expect that out of like that's literally baseline for my jungler. Like, if you're not pulling, you're Gragas. If you're playing Gragas and you can't pull that off, get the fuck out of here. Like, why are you even playing Gragas? That is,
And
the
that's
whole
why you'll
point of
never beat the
Gragas.
GM of TSM, Crumbs.
Yeah, like that's baseline, dude. Like, get out of here. Like,
Oh my God, what does-
anticipate flash on Gragas. That's so easy.
Easy.
Are you kidding me? Like, that's
Easy.
too. You're lowering the bar a little bit too much. Like,
Yeah.
I remember I
Wow.
saw this presentation of coaching by Korean coaches with American coaches. And I really don't remember where this. It might have been Invent, but they had a little chart where they showed what they thought was American coaching to Korean coaching, and
Okay.
they showed this with carrot and stick, right? So stick represents punishment,
Right.
carrot is a reward. They felt like the American way was for every 3 sticks you get 1 carrot. The Korean way was 12 sticks, 1 carrot. It was like just fucking punishment
hell.
until you get it down.
Man alive.
I think the standard is too low. I honestly think. Look,
No, I'm just
standards might
imagining
be too low
some
here.
horrifically tragic scenario of Blank just fucking sitting in a basement somewhere, beating bruises all over himself, crying, chewing on half an old carrot. But at least I got the carrot again. And then Faker comes in.
Yeah.
Right, that's the 12th guy. You're all right. Here's your carrot. See you next game.
Well, wait, you don't think Acadian looked better than the other weeks? I mean,
ignoring.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah,
I sort of agree with this logic because, to be fair, every NA team, dude, every NA team is just like their social media is like, we lost, but who cares? We're at Chipotle. It's like, what is this actually? Like, this is weird. Like, why is this on social media?
Oh, also, wait.
Yeah, dude,
speaking
he
of,
looked better because he looked worse. Since he looked worse at the start, so yeah, he looked better.
Yeah, so he looks better. So, one thing I did want to ask was, speaking of social media and like Chipotle and stuff, did you guys notice like the TSM Twitter started to be like a meme Twitter?
No, what memes did you do?
Wait, no one noticed? What the fuck?
We don't follow TSM's Twitter.
I do, but I don't know if I follow their Twitter account. But I don't remember any tweets.
Do you guys know
They're
that?
not like trying to be like G2 basically and do
trying to be like Cloud9.
Wendy's.
Trying to be more like Cloud9. They've been trying to be like.
I mean, what does that have to do with their LC? That's got literally nothing to do with their LC.
It's a smoke screen. It's all smoke screen.
What? This is not.
Okay, it's like at like 1 a.m. they're tweeting stuff like "sleep on mic, anyone," and like what other like weird shit. It's just like so fucking weird. Like they suddenly turned into like.
What do you mean, dude?
Cloud9.
Look at the TSM viewership right now is mostly Fortnite.
Mm-hmm. It's like this account is ran by at Elon Musk. Hello, is thing on? We will rebuild. I don't know, but like their Twitter.
Are you secretly running this account?
No.
Sounds like your time of humor.
Why would I fucking run TSM? Okay, don't kid. If I was running TSM's account, the first thing I would do is I would follow myself back.
All right, yeah, Flame.
It's a fucking Fortnite Twitter, man. Like, have you looked at their the TSM YouTube viewership? Yeah. Just go to the TSM channel and now look at every single video that has something to do with League of Legends, and now look at every single video
I know.
that has something to do with Fortnite.
I know, like it's the viewership is vast majority Fortnite over League of Legends. Things have changed.
Right. Check this out. Right. So I go. TSM Legends Season 5 Episode 13 Waves, released 1 month ago, 92k viewers, right? In between it, so before and after, TSM Fortnite House Tour, 2.1 million views. TSM Fortnite Insane Food Challenge, 2.6 million views.
Maybe with a really insane food challenge.
Meat Smoothie, 93k views. TSM Summer Split Hype Montage, 76k views.
TSM LCS Food Challenge, force feed the opponent.
Look, dude, TSM
10-minute video.
Myth works at Chipotle for a day.
Wow, that's hype. That's a hype video. That's a hype video. You can't argue with that. Bjergsen works at Chipotle for a day.
TSM,
10 million views.
If you were to sample every single person that knows TSM right now, the majority would tell you it's a Fortnite organization.
Sven's ADC play reminds me of what happens after I've been to Chipotle. Stings a little bit. I'm trying to get it all out of my system. And after that, I swear I'll never do it again, but I do inevitably.
Let's actually talk about that. What's wrong with
Sven? Well, the thing is, sometimes I eat too much. Like my dad just,
what's wrong with
no, why is he saying that? He's like, well, let's talk about that then. Why do you shit yourself after Chipotle? Well, you know what, Loco? I've thought about this a lot. I think it's not enough for that sour cream sauce. I believe if the ratio of the habanero pepper for the sour cream sauce is off, then thy does shit thyself.
Oh, come on, dude. Chipotle won't give you habanero, even if that's too fancy for them.
Okay. I feel like Chipotle is a healthy restaurant compared to like it's when Taco Bell that gets you. Like Chipotle is like a relatively healthy restaurant.
No, what was it you wanted to talk about though?
Well, Zben being bad, that's like the one thing like that puzzles me so much and like that pains me so much.
It's so easy. What do you mean it's so easy? He doesn't want to be in an A. Whoa, a person doesn't want to be there. Congratulations. Whoa.
By the way, I will say, if you look at a lot of the players we're referencing, by the way, Santorin, Svenskeren, they're also Danish. They're also from the Nordic region. Well, one of the problems, this is the reason why famously, I even admitted this. I actually personally thought when Bjergsen went to TSM, he would absolutely fail. Nothing to do with his skill level, just because I knew who he was as a person. I knew he was as a guy who was like, played two splits. He'd been bullied as a kid. He'd only just turned old enough to play. And he was someone that they were already taking like really close care of when he was at the European LCS. Like, all the other players would make sure you didn't interview him or bother him and stuff. So I remember thinking like, this guy's not going to hold up under the pressure. Well, the problem is he did, but not everyone's going to. And I have to say, people from like Nordic countries, mate, basically, if you're an American, you have to imagine it like this. Imagine a whole country of people who are all like upper middle class. That's like what Sweden and Denmark and these countries, that's what they're like.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know what normal life's like. Like, they don't have people running up in their fucking grill talking mad shit to them on the streets, or they don't, like, in school, I bet even their version of bullying's like mad fucking milk toast, like not even that bad, you know, like. So as a result, like, it doesn't surprise, like, I could believe basically Crumbs' theory that like Sven himself is sort of checked out, and it's like, well, obviously I'm going to play, you know, it's my career and I'm getting paid and I'll try. But if deep down, you know, there's no synergy and you've been in a couple of bad lineups, like I could see you giving up to some degree there.
Well, my
I'm
question
sure
is like,
go back. What's the question?
why was he bad in last year also if he didn't want to be there? Because last year you can't make the argument that he didn't want to be there because he actively came there to be there.
Just listen to Mithy's interviews. Mithy is literally the best person in telling us exactly what happened. You're not going to get a better response from anybody else.
I asked.
Yes, and he said it, right? He said it himself. Like, they came together and then they parted ways, and obviously he's not going to want to stick around. They had to part ways. So what the fuck? Sven could just ride out a split on a team that's okay, top 5, not the worst, not the best, not for his standards at least. Could always go back to Europe, find a great team there. Not the end of the world. Enjoyed a few years in the NA, and if you know how they lived in Europe, anyways. Why the fuck would you want to come to NA anyways? Like, living in NA, it socially is a terrible experience compared to what you have in Europe and LEC for the most part, especially if you're not very outgoing and willing to throw yourself out there. It's going to be miserable. You're going to be stuck in a gaming house, and no one wants to fucking ride out an hour and a half to meet up with you in LA. Hell no. Like, so
that's true.
You really lose a ton of the social aspect of it. And
worst thing that'll happen to you in LEC is it might sting a bit when you pee, and it goes away after a week anyway.
Yeah,
just take the medicine the doctor gives you and you're fine.
Because it's free medicine too, so you don't give a fuck.
There you go. Exactly.
Another thing that's like really puzzling is like it's not like this team was shit all along. Like they made spring finals, and like I guess after spring finals and after the Skarner play, like he just really doesn't want to be here, and that's why he's shit now. God, Sven being bad is like the most frustrating part about being the TSM fan. Like, I can live with like Acadian being like kind of bad. I can live with like Grig being bad. I can even live with like Broken Blade being bad because like Broken Blade is someone like that's new and like that's growing into it. But Sven being bad like tilts the fuck out of me because he's a fucking proven player and he has a great support next to him with Smoothie and he's playing bad. So like that's the one aspect of TSM being bad like that is like so fucking frustrating. And
so much shit has to be going on in his head. Like, really, a lot of it is just relating to the players as people. And the second you do that, you're like, oh, I totally get why he's in this position. His old buddy, who they've been winning championships for a million times, who sucked just as much as he does now in NA, gets to peace out and is already in the top 3 team back in Europe, back home. Right?
And already beat your ass at Rift Rivals.
And already beat your ass. Why the fuck do you want to stay there? Are you kidding me? That must feel terrible. Of course it feels like you just want to die and go somewhere else. But he has to write it out. So I give him props to writing it out. And if he can somehow turn it around there, then fucking amazing, right? The guy really buckled down and found a way to make something out of nothing. But everything is just stacked up against him.
By the way, Loco, I know you already think this is rock bottom, but you can always rely on me, pal, to tell you why it's actually even worse for TSM than it currently looks. And so here we go. There's 2 factors that actually make this even more unacceptable how bad the team is. One of them is, as everyone remembers from that Travis video where he showed, like, divided by the wins, how much salary someone made, like which teams were doing the best. Well, if you remember, TSM was like, I think 1 or 2 on that list, because the concept was, because they had Bjergsen from a contract a few years ago, they're not even paying as much as they on paper would be otherwise. Like, if they had to sign Bjergsen this year, they'd be paying way more salary. So first of all, they've got Bjergsen at a reduced rate. Secondly, because Bjergsen's a resident, you can even have the extra import. Like, these are all advantages. Like, that should actually mean TSM in theory should have the best team. That's kind of a bit rough if you think of it that way. I mean, listen, it could be worse. I have to watch fucking Golden Guardians and now get excited about Keith McBrief joining the team, and I actually am, sadly. That's the fucking state that team's in. So,
dude,
could be
don't
worse
get
than
me
the rest of the league. But I will say this, like, I personally don't have a lot of hope in the TSM squad, unfortunately. Like, listen, I'm not going to hate. I kind of was a doubter in Spring Split anyway, and they overperformed, in my opinion. When they
I kid you not, dude. The most exciting teams, 100 Thieves and Team Liquid.
Oh my. Before we even go to that, let's finish up on the TSM point. We were talking about contracts and we were talking about rock bottom. Oh man,
what are you trying to say?
What do you think happens at the end of the year
for Golden Guardians?
For TSM.
Do you want to know something baller? Are you ready? No one's ever even suggested this, but I'm going to put it out into the world, like some sort of fucking magical sigil that might activate if everyone the right people hear it in their minds and overtake one of their fucking psychological processes. Are you ready?
Yep.
Remember, after they had the Worlds failure, they even admitted that was the first time they ever actually thought, like, did we remove Bjergsen? Because they were picking between Bjergsen and Doublelift, right? This is the angle no one thinks about. What, does Bjergsen just play in TSM forever? Why? No reason he should. So this is the gangster move. Are you ready? No one would do this, sadly, because it's just the way the teams are. I know the way people's minds work. But I would love it if at the end of this year, Fnatic announces Bjergsen's their new mid laner. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Nah, dude, I don't want to
every problem. They're not going to do it because they've got Nemesis and they wouldn't. Like, sadly, they won't because I know what little bitches people are in esports. Like, they're too scared to cut someone. Like, oh, I have to be loyal to him. It's like,
I'm not even scared about cutting Bjergsen. I'm more concerned that I thought Nemesis is doing a fine job.
He is, but I'd rather have Bjergsen.
He's American, dude. He's got an accent. He's got a California accent now.
Wait, do you think he'll leave at the end of the year?
I think he should consider it. It's not like they're going to pay you the most. It's not like they're the best team. You've already played more than, like, you don't have any duty left to TSM. You don't owe them anything, Bjergsen. So if you want to stay, stay. But I would just say this. Everyone you invite round to play in your house fucking dies in the fucking bedroom, don't they? So I'd just go ahead and go to a new house, mate. I'd go get a new family. Just switch it up a bit, you know. Maybe you are Damien. Maybe that is your thing, Bjergsen. I don't know. Maybe it's you. Maybe you leave. In fact, that's why, Loco. There you go. I've solved it. When Bjergsen leaves, two things happen. One, either shit continues like this in TSM, and it wasn't Bjergsen's fault, it was just an internal thing, or it turns out it was Bjergsen, and I've even fixed it for TSM. Now they've just get a different mid laner who lets people play jungle.
If Bjergsen leaves TSM, I don't know what that org goes straight nosedive. Whew. Like, it is steep.
Wow. I think there. I think like fresh start for both sides can be.
Imagine this, Loco. You wake up on the first day of the off season. Yeah. Reddit just says Bjergsen signs with Fnatic. TSM signs Golden Glue. You're happy with that?
I stopped being a TSM fan.
Nemesis comes to North America.
There we go.
Nemesis to NA.
Oh, they did a reverse trade. There we go. Yeah, Nemesis comes over, right?
Nemesis to
NA. We'll lose another one.
Reverse trade.
Oh, God.
Reverse trade.
I mean, is PoE better than he was before? I think he was probably better.
PoE is like around the same level.
I think he's similar.
Like he's gonna stay the same, right? So
he's similar.
But there's no one that comes in and says, "Oh, they got better."
Okay. Bjergsen can leave TSM if TSM gets Faker. Maybe Faker wants to leave SK. This is his contract year also.
No, he doesn't want to leave South Korea.
Why not? For TSM, he might.
TSM doesn't have the money.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong, motherfucker. Actually buy someone. Prove me wrong. Stop signing the 19th best academy jungler of 2017. Stop signing those players and actually show me you've got some money, motherfucker.
Smoothie was not cheap. TSM spent a lot for Smoothie. The salary, why it doesn't reflect in the chart that you saw, I'm not sure if it includes it, but it doesn't include buyouts. Smoothie's buyout was not cheap,
right.
From what I heard.
Okay.
So TSM is not like a cheap org. Yeah. Like they definitely.
I prefer to call it a sellout when someone is paid to join TSM, but just semantics on that one. There, Loco.
Okay. Let's go to your favorite Golden Guardians. Yeah. What do you think about the Keith Deathly trade?
I think that Keith is actually going to be playing Academy.
Right, is that why they brought him in?
Yeah. So I think Keith is actually not even going to be doing. I thought FBI is starting for Golden Guardian still. So I think it was just an Academy trade. I don't think it has many implications to it. I might be wrong, but I don't know. Keith was the best AD carry, one of the best in Academy, right? And I do know more about why the trade happened that I cannot disclose, but I don't think anything is going to happen.
Okay.
I mean, it's a side grade, maybe an upgrade if you put Keith, but then Keith would have to be better than
FBI.
The FBI, right? So he has to be better than the guy that's taking the import slot that they put all their faith in at the start of the year. So Golden Guardians, at the very least, would probably ride out the end of the split to at least give the guy some time to say, was he a good call or bad call? So I don't think Keith is going to get much playtime.
One thing I'm curious by is if it was a straight up trade or if there was money involved for either team. Like if one team got the player.
Keith paid a lot of money to leave. No, anyway, keep on.
I'm curious which side like is getting the better player and which side like initiated the trade. Like, because trades really don't happen in League because teams always feel like they have the better player and they feel like other players are shitty, and like mid-season trades are extremely hard to do. So yeah, I'm pretty curious like what the deal actually looks like. Like, did Golden Guardians pay C9 money to make sure they can have Keith so they can do Keith's Ole? I can't imagine C9 paying money for Deathly. So I think it's either an even trade or Golden Guardians paid money plus players.
Well, remember, Deathly played
for C9.
Yeah.
Before.
By the way, this is where, like, it's a shame I don't actually personally ever use memes very much. Like, if you notice, it's not really my style.
You're not a memer?
No, I'm not much of a memer. Because the thing is, like, it would be hilarious, almost just for the bants, like, just to be a piece of shit. Like, if Golden Guardians win a few games now, I should just start, like, embracing all those shit memes. Like, haha, Letucan has arrived. Like, doing all those stupid-ass ASCII art and stuff on Twitter. Just for the bants, it'd be worth it. The problem is I don't ever want to have to be that sort of a person, so I won't, probably. Unless they beat TSM, maybe.
But you're a man that chooses his own values so quickly. Couldn't you just quickly take down your values?
Yeah. I could identify as a memer and then stop identifying as one. I'm meme fluid.
We're all memes. Wait, what do you guys think about Deathly potentially starting for C9 with how bad Sneaky's been playing?
What? No.
The only thing Deathly should be starting is fucking welfare. This motherfucker should not be playing professional League of Legends. Like, you know what? I actually used to think collegiate esports was a waste of time. Deathly, go get a fucking education, mate. You need to learn how to play the fucking team fights, the game League of Legends, and you need to get an education and play for
Collegiate is so busted right now. You don't even know how good collegiate is right now. But it's not that playing collegiate is good. It's that if you were a pro player or semi-pro, whatever you want to call it,
right,
you can go back to collegiate and get paid mad money just to play on a shittier league.
There you go.
Coach whatever you want, get your education completely paid for if that's what you want to do, all while playing the game. Because you can't go to baseball, you can't play in the major league and then go back to college and play in college baseball. And
also, if you're in college, think about how many cool girls are going to be into. You're on the team? I didn't even know they had League of Legends. As opposed to, but you're having to fucking.
And you're older, you're wiser.
Fucking Bjergsen and about 700 other players, way more popular, who are taking all the girls. You're like, well, fuck, none for me. This is bullshit. In college, you'd be the big man on campus, definitely. You'd be the boss. You'd be that fucking boss, Mass State or whatever. I don't know the fucking name. Dog shit university.
I mean, that's if your pond is too small for you, just keep going. Just keep finding newer. Sorry, if your pond is too big for you, just keep finding tiny ass ponds, and you're like, I'm the king. Fucking tiny pond. I'm still the king, baby.
Oh my god.
There you go. This logic checks out.
You should be a recruiter, Crumbz. You should be a recruiter for one of those colleges.
I've done some work with colleges before.
Okay. Right, come on then, Loco. Seeing as on the last episode about LCS, you were arguing that they should play through fucking FBI bot lane because remember...
What? That was not my argument at all.
You have some sort of mild mental illness where you can't just admit, like, mid lane's the only lane worth playing through on that team.
You think I told you Golden Guardians should play through bot lane? I said
said if they were going to have FBI and Huhi, then you should play through them.
I said if you're going to have them, you should play through them.
They tried that, right? And then Meteos shat on them. Like, straight up
Yeah.
Laugh Squad.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm aware, Crumbs, you know this. There's about 3 real junglers in NA. Meteos is one of them. So yeah, when a real jungler turns up, the whole game goes topsy-turvy, doesn't it? Like, what's a joke is Optic's like 1.5, like it's like 2.5 players on that team. It's just like because one of the full players is a fucking jungler, it makes it look OP as fuck because they have no junglers in NA.
My recommendation for Golden Guardians was to have Deathly Ole and play through Froggen. Like, I don't like this new identity, and I don't think they can beat other teams with the new identity. I think they should double down on the Froggen-centric, team-fighting-centric identity, because that's the only playstyle that they have that allows them a shot at cracking maybe top 4, top 3. I don't think, like, playing through FBI Huhi, they can crack top 4, top 3.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter who they play through, because their mid to late game decision-making is ass. You got how many times do you watch a Golden Guardians game that one guy runs it down? It's like, oh, should I run it down too? My buddy just did it. Game's over. Oh, guys, come on. We built this lead through mid lane. What happened? Like,
at least with Froggen oriented playstyle, they can get to that point. When they were playing FBI Huhi, they weren't getting to that point at all.
That's not true.
Their early game was fucking ass.
They played 2 games, 1-1-1. There was barely any difference with FBI Huhi and Deft Ole. There was like no difference.
Whoa, I disagree.
They just played Lucian Yumi, and that was it. And they asked for more ganks.
I'm pretty sure it's been 4 games with FBI and Huhi, and
it's 4 now.
Yeah, they went 1-1, and then last week they went 1-1
again, I think.
Right. Yeah. What's the difference with Deathly Ole? It's the same shit, same record.
When you play Deathly Ole, they don't give resource to bot lane, and they don't create these skirmishes bot lane, and they keep the game in neutral states longer, where Froggen does get to team fight, where the whole team does get to team fight, and they can actually play out to their strength. When they play with FBI Huhi, a lot of their game and a lot of their early game is decided around bot lane 2v2s, bot lane 3v3s, and they haven't been getting ahead from that. Even in the game they won versus CLG, they were getting absolutely crushed early, and then CLG just fucking threw and put it on a platter. I think the new playstyle that they are having with FBI Hui, it is definitely different. It is a new look for Golden Guardians, where they are more proactive early, and they want to get stuff done bot lane, where Froggen is forced to roam, and I think it plays so
well. Then why did you say that Deathly had bad laning stats?
What? I said definitely had good.
It was a joke, because that was like something you got mad triggered about in the last episode.
But yeah, I mean, the team looks completely different with FBI Huhi, especially for how they play early game and like where their win conditions lie.
Well, it's because they don't have to take Tam Kench every time. Right? They can afford to not have Tam Kench. It's a team that's like, oh my god, wait, there's more than one support.
And it's been looking worse for them.
Oh shit. What's been looking good for them?
What is it? Just
to be fair, they're making Tam Kench now.
Yeah.
They are making Tam Kench so that he can actually swallow buffs. So now you could actually have Ole play, and he could help contracts do an invade and get a buff.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I'm a thinker.
They look good when they're scaling and actually getting into team fight, and they're allowing Froggen to play stuff like Vel'Koz, Froggen to play stuff like Anibia Lux.
Froggen, it's not allowing him to do that. Froggen will always do that.
Froggen will do that, but the team looks so different when he is on Doge Champion and you're still playing around bottom. Like, you can't be Anivia, Lux, Vel'Koz and have your team play around bottom and take early skirmishes, because it's going to be 3v2s or 4v3s every time, because the enemy mid will move a lot faster than you. So by like playing FBI Huhi and having Froggen on champions like Corki, having Froggen on champions like Lysandra, it plays away from like what made them a good team.
But you know that Hanser, I would side with play around Hanser even more. Not to say, I mean, Hanser's laning stats have been pretty good the whole split long, and it's not a matter of
Hanser's their second best player.
Carry. It's, well, shit, no one ever helps him out. Yeah, straight up, no one ever does anything. For why go to bottom lane?
Yeah, that's my point. So get rid, like, I don't like this new identity with FBI Huhi. I feel like it plays away from what makes Golden Guardians better.
You want Deathly Ole so that they can sack bottom lane.
Yeah, I don't think Deathly Ole are better players than FBI Huhi. I don't think so, but I think they're a way better fit for Golden Guardians and what their strengths are.
Or just play Deathly Huhi or the other guy in Huhi, and you don't have to go to their lane and still learn how to play around top and mid.
And
play with your solo lanes.
That's an option if they're, but at the end of the day, if they're just gonna stack bot lane, Deathly Ole were great at being independent and great without playing without resource. So you already had a bot lane that was completely capable of doing the job you needed them to do, and then now you're trying to switch up and trying to get them to do something different, trying to get new guys to do new things where it doesn't really fit into what you're doing in the first place. That's why this trade is like really puzzling for me.
And there's a lot of puzzling things about the Golden Guardianos.
Froggen, are you hopeful for the future with FBI Hui? Are you hopeful for the future with Keith?
I'm not hopeful for the Golden Guardians at all. Like I don't care about their laning. I only look at what happens when it's game time, one decision to win the game, to lose the game. What do? Almost always drop the ball. That's where I notice Golden Guardians every time.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if they get out of lane. Everybody can get out of lane. Like we're beyond that. No one's punishing the laning phases. No one's snowballing a lane properly. And then only
Not in
team-
LCS at least.
only like TL snowballs a lane and like, oh shit, like this lane got fucked. Smithy really made sure that they won this lane. That's pretty much it. So laning phase I'm not concerned with. I want to see, okay, you played a Fiesta, 40 minutes in, you're against, I don't know, FlyQuest, whoever, Echo Fox. Do you make the right call around Baron? Do you make the right call around Dragon? How do you siege? How do you approach these objectives? And all the time, it's A-ramming mid. So that's when I don't get it. I don't get that point. If you can't close a game, then you got a big list of problems to address. Because it's not even that it's as a whole they're trying some, let's 1-3-1 and do a 1-4, let's set up a T-pleat. It's just one dude gets caught every time. It's one or two dudes are doing something stupid, and it always loses them the game.
So beat all the bottom teams by playing like the simple team fight, playing the simple poke comp when you're stronger group that's 5. That's where Golden Guardians got most of their wins, and I want to see them stick more to that. I don't think they'll have enough like variety or enough mastery.
Like, look at the game. Didn't they lose last week against CLG?
No,
I think so. Yeah.
They just beat CLG. They didn't. Did they play them back to back?
Yeah, they beat CLG. Now CLG was. I'm looking this up right now. They had a LeBlanc with 20 Magi stacks.
Yeah. That was more of a CLG throw than Golden Guardians winning.
Yeah.
That was CLG fucking that one up.
That's the kind of games that we have. Like, I'm trying to see like what was actually I'm looking at the throw moment.
Oh, put it this way: if you add in Spring as well, I'll definitely agree, Crumbs. Even some of the games GGS wins is almost like the other team just ints into them. It's like I've seen that happen a lot of times.
Yeah.
They're not a good team as an actual team in League of Legends. They have a couple of good players. They have a couple of all right players, and somehow they get the odd win out of it.
It's like I think the teams need to start readdressing the game as if it was the first time you ever play a game. Like the first time you ever play a game, any kind of game, at least this is how I approach it. It's what's the maximum value I can get out of a play here? Like what's the greediest thing I could possibly do? And then I keep doing it until I realize, you can't greed out 100% of the time. So how do I mediate being greedy and not getting fucked by it? And then you play off of that. What's the maximum potential of play? Whereas now in a lot of these teams, it doesn't feel like they're thinking, what's the most value I can get at all times? It's always thinking, how do I not die? Or how can I do the bare minimum instead of trying to take as much as possible and then dialing it back? And it shows with the A-ramming. A-ramming is the safest shit you could do. It's least likely way for you to throw the game individually and the least possible gain you could get. If you get a good lead here, you might be able to get an inhibitor and maybe get a Baron out of it, as opposed to fucking hell, you took 3 turrets from the side lanes, you took some jungle, and you might be able to crack an inhibitor if they divide their resources poorly. Like there is just so many fundamental problems that plague the teams that it's just so much, dude. It's like you have an issue with the leg, and the only thing the doctor would tell you is you just need to amputate this thing. You're going to have to get rid of it because there's, either you go for years of treatment or fucking cut it off and we'll give you a new one.
Dire times.
I mean, in a way, what Crumbz is saying is actually also the bigger problem the NA region has, which is, I get it if your team like GGS or your Optic, these teams that are like hamstrung with the roster. Yeah, it's easy to do what Loco said and just think, right, well, I have a way to win. If I play around these players and I play a limited style, at least I'll get some wins. I'll beat the bottom teams. The problem I have is I think that's what even some of the top teams think. They think like, well, just NA ramming it and just fucking playing team fights. It'll get us third place still. We'll still be second. We'll still beat most of those teams. Like, they're not thinking themselves as they should. If you're the top 3 teams in NA, it should already be already go without saying you're going to win NA and try to win NA. What you should be trying to do is be the absolute best team in the world that you can be, which means playing a style that could beat LPL teams, LCK teams. Whereas actually, I feel like even as a region, there's that mentality of like just revert to what's safe and what's easy.
Yeah.
And
Which team do you think are doing that? Do you think TL, TSM, C9?
I think every one of them does in their own way, mate. Like I've told you, Team Liquid, even to this day, still refuse to side lane half the times. TSM, they just haven't got the right team together. And Cloud9, 200 IQ themselves in the draft like every third game, it feels like at this point in time.
Aren't Cloud9 and I think TL does fall into a little bit of not trying in NA and just going with like, we're the better team fight team, no one can really challenge us. But I feel like C9 and TSM are always trying to do stuff and like kind of failing at it. Like that's their problem, not that they're not trying.
Yeah, but then don't you notice how shit the mechanics are? How many plays did you see at Rift Rivals that if they just had better mechanics, they'd win? Flat out. If NA teams had better mechanics, might have actually won Rift Rivals. Straight up. The mechanical misplays are so dramatic that they single-handed lose you the games, and it's brutal. How the fucking an individual player lose you the game so many times, and then you still don't call him out, or you don't get to fix the issue. Like, I really think the mechanics.
Issues. Like,
yeah,
don't
but
get
like the
saying top teams
mechanics
aren't trying different stuff, and I'm saying yes, the top teams are trying different stuff. Maybe not TL, but TSM, C9 are definitely trying different stuff, and as you said, are failing at it mechanically.
Is TL trying new stuff?
No, not really. Not TL. TSM, C9 for sure.
Yeah, TSM absolutely. C9 has
Probably
no
Loco
choice.
has is because TSM is just fucking losing all the time anyway. He can't tell whether them trying something and failing is actually them trying something good or whether they're just shit.
So like the time they tried something and we had to talk about it on the desk, it was
Yasuo
where they
Gragas
ran
boss fight.
Yasuo. Yeah, it was Yasuo, Sven, and Cassiopeia on mid. And my issue with it was, I know you want to run the Yasuo Gragas bot, but Sven is a fucking way better Cassiopeia than Yasuo. And I'm pretty sure Bjergsen's a way better Yasuo than Cassiopeia. Why not just have those players play those champions and don't get so creative? Like, you don't go off the deep end completely. Like, you're still in new territory, but you don't have to fucking go to the ends of the earth to try something new. And they lost because Sven was unexperienced with Yasuo. That was why they lost.
Really? I thought of it differently. So
No, mechanically Bjerg did make some pretty big errors on Cassiopeia. Like, watch the dive they botched in bottom lane that turned the play. He flashed to Miasma a Sivir inside a Cataclysm.
Okay, so the problem with that dive was Gragas E. I didn't know this until that dive happened, and I don't think TSM knew at all. But why that dive failed is not like Sven problem. It was a knowledge problem from rest of TSM, and it's a very, very obscure knowledge thing. When Gragas E hits the target between two walls without there being space to move, the target only gets stunned and the target doesn't get knocked up. So when they're going for that dive on Sivir Yuumi and Smoothie leaves with E flash and the Sivir is stuck between two walls, she didn't get knocked up. So,
no, that's a different dive. That's the second one. I'm talking about the second one.
In the initial dive, like that's where the game fucking went to hell. Cause
no, it was the second one. It wasn't the first dive. It was the second one that happened when they got chased down and Sivir was in between tier 2 and tier 1. Jarvan flash cataclysms and they're trying to go on Sivir, but they botch everything, get collapsed, and then over chase. Die, give 3 extra kills. Game's over after that one.
So
that was
a bad dive where they like Sven stayed after to hit turret, but the first dive is the most important, and that's what then gets them actually rolling, and that's the play they lead up to, and they practice every single time. And they failed that dive because they didn't know when Sivir is stuck between two walls and you Gragas, you don't get knocked up. If they got that knock up, then you get the Yasuo knock up afterwards, and then you get the Jarvan EQ afterwards, and then you kill both Sivir and Yuumi, and then you take first turret. That's how they practice that play, and it worked for them every single time. And the conditions were set for that play to work, but that small interaction that they didn't know about, if Sivir is between turrets, that you don't get knocked up and you can't do the chains, I thought that was way bigger of a problem than anything else. If that problem gets solved, like that game looks different, and that's just the lead up to the entirety of Yasuo Gragas bot lane. Like, you set up this dive and you get it. Like, Jarvan passed that way to make sure they can have 3 people under there. Bjerg had priority to make sure he can move first. Like, that was the whole point of
like TSM playing that style and TSM like practicing to execute that. Like, I think second dive was a problem, but the first dive, like, that was just inexcusable. Like, that was just...
mechanical errors. Again, mechanical errors.
Did you know that if a champion is between two walls, or where they don't have space to move and you get hit by Gragasy, you don't get knocked up, you only get stunned?
I probably did not know, but I've played a bunch of Gragas, and I, for the most part, don't really think about the interactions. Like, I don't fucking think where I put my keyboard. Like, the second I think about it, I'm already not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I need to not think about it to know how I'm playing. Like, you know, the second you look down, like in your hand placement, you know you're fucking it up. It all feels weird, but the second you're playing and focused, you can do it like a charm.
But that was the interaction. I feel like that fucked them. Like, not the second dive, but that one where they didn't know about that and it just fucked their game plan altogether.
Okay.
It was great, wasn't it? Proof God exists. See, he's in the details. He's just...
It's so bullshit. It's like, who the fuck even knows that interaction? And I didn't even fucking know, like, that small thing, like, that it fucked him that hard.
I don't know. You would only know if you had a... see if he could trigger the ultimate. There's no other way for you to know. Because the animation of you would not tell you that it's knocked up unless you have a Yasuo there.
So what you're saying then, Loco, is they didn't practice that play exactly like that.
Well, they probably never were in a moment where Gragas E hit the target between two walls.
Yeah, it was a fluke, obviously. Yeah, of course. You could never predict that.
Yeah.
They would still, by the way, I still think they would have lost to C9 anyway.
Or what you mean to CLG? That was the one versus CLG where...
Oh, right, you're talking about that game, right? Yeah. That one's more debatable than whether they would have lost that or not.
I guess not.
God
Let's
hates
talk about
TSM right
CLG
now.
then.
Let's do it.
Obviously, CLG is a great team to talk about. So, Crumbz, they're actually legit now, right?
Yes, they are actually legit, weirdly enough.
And speaking of people who have a competent jungler, CLG's actually found a competent NA jungler.
Yeah, and what's crazy, though, is that he was shit in spring, right? Just garbage, god-awful.
Sure.
Out of nowhere, turns really good.
Addition by subtraction.
He was always great. Yes, I've heard that specifically about that trade too.
Oh, I know what happened. Right? Think about it logically. They've done the opposite of what TSM did because Weldon used to work with TSM. So as opposed to having a KD be really good for the first split and then shit for the second one, he started out with
flipped it on his head.
He said, whatever they do at TSM, I'm doing the opposite. So he was like nice to people, donated to charity, didn't kill like birds and stuff. Like, and then eventually everything he did the exact opposite, and eventually it worked. And as a result, CLG has a functional jungler.
George stands at CLG.
Exactly. He did the opposite. The best episode ever, by the way. Look at it.
I've had some days where I do that shit, and I love it. If you just switch the opposite, you're like, man, this is shit.
Fun.
You know what?
Yeah.
I mean, they're good. It's just weird to see how they're good because so much of it seems to rely on wiggly and strong drafts early. Like they had pretty solid drafts for the most part that made a lot of sense, even with the what the fuck is this guy doing? With the Sylas jungle, right? First team in the NA to bring out the Sylas, so nobody else has gotten to play it. So they got away with it for one game.
I think the best part of their draft is like how they utilize Power of Evil's champion pool.
Yeah, which I find it weird when they're switching over to the LeBlancs, and I know that they're probably trying to integrate a little bit more aggressiveness to it by taking the LeBlanc, but I was fine with him on Victor. Just fucking give him Victor every time. He was crushing it. Like, it's not going to get punished here. CLG is not the championship team. This is the development team that is on the cusp of can you make it to Worlds? So stick to being a development team. If they don't make Worlds, it's not a failure of a year, not by any means, in my opinion. Like, from what they started, from what they spent, this is definitely the bang for your buck team that is fucking crushing it. So they're doing a great job.
Yeah. I mean, so how I understood, like, why everyone thinks, like, CLG is so good, or go ahead, were you going to say something?
Well, yeah, what's really weird, though, is that, so I'm doing a lot of academy casting, so I get to see a lot of the academy teams. Much of the academy teams that are good are directly relevant to the LCS teams. It's not that the, Cloud9 LCS is here and the Cloud9 Academy is like, it's pretty much the same.
So standings are similar. LCS
They're very
Academy.
similar standings, except for a few outliers. And CLG is one of those outliers. The CLG Academy team is dead last.
Wow,
Like,
that's
just
surprising.
Pure dead last. probably not going to get out of that. There's a chance, but they're struggling. And it's weird because every other team is not in, like every other team's LCS team really matches their academy team. So it might just be that they don't actually have enough resources to spend in both teams, and so they've put everything on the LCS team to make sure that this development year goes well.
They had that academy team for such a long time. You know how we talked about like Challenger League was not a player development league?
Yeah, I know.
CLG actually treated like a player development league, and they had CLG Academy or CLG Black for such a long time.
They are 3-11.
Yikes. Well, who's their roster? Like, I'd imagine it's still like the players they had before, like Otto.
It is Fallen Bandit, Moon.
Wait a minute, Loco. You should remember this. Half of them played last split. Remember when there was that week where Weldon replaced them? Like Fallen Bandit played, if you remember.
Fallen Bandit,
Right.
Moon,
Colin,
Tuesday.
Auto. Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the team.
Yeah.
Which is weird, right?
Yeah, it's not bad at academy
team.
players.
It's the same team that did well last split that's struggling this time.
Yeah.
I know. I feel bad for that Moon guy. He didn't even get a chance to go on to TSM and get ruined and fail, have his whole career shit up. He skipped the fun step.
You get an excuse. That's the best part.
Yeah.
So every team that picks you up after is like, I get it. You're on TSM.
Exactly. Yeah, I get the TSM discount. He's half off. He used to be a TSM player. I'll see if I can resurrect him then. Hello, jungler. I appreciate, like you, and I'm going to allow you to do what you want. Holy shit, I'm back. All of a sudden, they start feeling a bit better.
You know this like CLG resurgence that we've seen? I think it looks so dramatic because of what happened in spring. But I think this team was already good from the start. But by having Darshan, who was a really big resource hog in terms of champions, like he either wanted to blind pick OPs or he got the counter picks a lot. And also he got so many of the ganks and he directed how the team should be played. And with the removal of Darshan, it freed up Wiggly a lot. It freed up pick resource for bot lane a lot. And they started prioritizing stuff like Yuumi. I mean, which
you mean more than the potential to be good was there?
Yeah. This team, I think, would have been good in spring if top lane was different. If they had Flame or if they just didn't have Darshan or they didn't have a resource at the top laner, I think we would see similar levels. It's just like they were here and then now we see them here. We're like, holy shit, they got so good. Where it's more so they were already kind of good but spring was just a disaster.
Look, I gotta ask something though. This is kind of bother. You don't make your bed?
Oh my god, are you Odie? Why do I need to make my bed? I sleep there and then I get up and
listen.
Right. Why do I need to wipe my ass?
Crumbz,
it's unhygienic if you don't wipe your ass.
Crumbz, you get this, mate. I know you know what I'm talking about. There's a reason why the most famous piece of advice in Jordan Peterson's philosophy is clean your room, because the concept is Loco. If you don't even do the basics like that, are you really going to put in all the extra elbow grease in every other area of your life? Probably not. You're probably just going to freewheel it most of the time, doing what you can get away with.
No, definitely not. Like when I was studying to get into Hongdae, like my room was a fucking mess. That was probably like one of my hardest accomplishments. Like
cleaning your room?
No, all the way in my life, like getting into that college and like grinding to get into that college and my room.
No, get the fuck out of here. I hear that the college system in Korea is the opposite, in that high school is the hard shit and when you get to college it's free. You don't have to do anything.
If you get into college, it's a lot easier because high school was so hard. But getting into college is extremely competitive, and the college I got into was a top 2 art school, so that one was fucking hard to get into. But I feel like that's one of my biggest accomplishments. And when I was doing that, like my room was dirty always. Like I was dirty. It was just wake up, art, eat, sleep, wake up, art, eat, sleep. So I don't necessarily agree with like your room has to be clean.
Can't spare a minute. Every minute accounted for.
By the way, that tells you so much about Loco's life, right? He literally just said, since at a different point in his life, he successfully got into art school, something, space, question mark, you don't have to clean your room. Like, I don't know what.
Wait, no,
I still don't get where the connection was.
You told me that you wouldn't put an extra effort into things if you're not willing to clean your room, because that's like.
And
I see what you mean.
So you say you put extra effort in getting into university.
Right, I see the premises now. Right?
So you're saying, no, I'm somebody that does put effort into things.
Yeah, the problem is
just not into my room.
Yeah.
First of all, the only thing you put effort into was getting into that college. You were a fucking train wreck as a human being. You hadn't figured out all your emotional relationships. You hadn't done a lot of work on yourself. Maybe a little self-awareness. Like, I'd say actually, basically, it goes the other way around. Your logic is, Well, when I didn't clean my room, I did one thing in my entire life. It's like,
No, my logic is
I can tell you need to be like dying homeless in a fucking gutter before you like accept that knowledge, isn't it? Like, look, I don't have to clean my room now. I live in a box.
Look at that, dude.
I just shake it out every morning.
Oh my god, dude, it's a fucking mess.
I bet Keith McBrief doesn't clean his room.
Oh my!
And then he wonders why he's just passed around teams like a fucking doobie at the end of one of those after-school parties or something. You know?
Can you pass the toucan, please?
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, the toucan has arrived. The toucan.
Just do the rest of the episode without me. I'm gonna be cleaning my room, and then I'll join back once I'm done cleaning.
There we go. Right, there you go. Metaphorically, if he means his soul, there could take a long time.
Oh,
right. What about this then? Here's the question, Crumbs. Here's the question. Is this just like a little peak in the split and, you know, CLG just becomes an also-ran, like a decent team? Can they actually challenge? Do you think they can challenge for LCS?
No. No, it's not going to happen.
It's too far?
It's Team Liquid. The benchmark is Team Liquid. They're not going to beat Team Liquid.
That's true.
C9TL?
It's literally just Team Liquid is a step above all of them. And no one's even close to transcending to that step, so it's just not going to happen. It's going to be the 4-peat again.
You know what
Another year.
You know what's interesting? I 100% agree with Crumbz. I think TL is the best team by far, and maybe C9 can challenge them. But from eye test, if you just look at the games, TL doesn't look like the best team in the league.
TL doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, TL doesn't give a shit. It's so like without the context of like who TL is and like them being bored in NA, if you just look at the games, they are not like by far this number one team.
I mean, right. TL having to try is like the equivalent of being Tiger Woods and just being like, oh, do I have to go to the bar to pick up something? No, I don't have to do anything. I really don't. I can just sit here and the wins come. That's Team Liquid. They don't have to do shit. They have to run it down to lose, right? It's not that they have to play bad to lose. They have to run it down. That's the difference. They don't have to actually do anything to win. To lose, they have to fucking be bad, which is a different step than competing internationally where, oh shit, you played well and still lost? Oh, whoa. Exactly. Like, now you've got some issues. Exactly. Here it's like you actually have to fucking suck.
I think until playoffs and maybe the next game against TSM, like we're not going to see like full strength TL for a long time. They're just like cruising.
See, I thought Crumbs' analogy was going to go a different way there. Like, the reason that TL's like Tiger Woods is because they don't have to go out to the bars hustling, talking to girls, trying to like tell them like they do some great job in like regional marketing, vice president or whatever. No, like Tiger Woods, they've got their phones blowing up with them whores. Like, they're having to beat them off with a stick. Like, of course they're going to give in every now and then, have a little taste, you know. Who wouldn't? It's human. What do you want to do? It's a big pile of the shit right there. Have a little bit. But, you know, aside from that, most of the time they're keeping it Christian, you know. Most weeks they're keeping it professional. But you can't do it every time. It's different. I always tell them it's different if you have to go out there and try and find a life of sin. If you just get the life of sin constantly on you, eventually you're going to sit.
Right.
You know, while the sun's out, I'm gonna have a fucking sit back, aren't I, and chill.
It's like that. Who was it? I think it was Bill Burr or someone was saying that it's like, yeah, you can't relate to this situation because the average person is not bombarded with the life of sin being in
exactly.
And the average person would jump it in a heart, dude.
Of course.
Every single time, I kid you not, 80% plus of people I speak to that are say 40 plus, the first thing they tell me. It's a guy telling me this. It's like, man, if I was in your position,
of course,
I would literally do nothing but get poon all day. They're like, I would not do anything. I would do nothing but that. That's the 80% response that I get from people in their 40s that know what I do. That's the only thing they tell me.
It means in the connected logic of, you know, like in the if they grew up and they were in like the 80s or whatever, like, you know, it was a very different world. There wasn't like fucking Tinder and a million ways to meet people and all the social media stuff. It means from that angle.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's just them wistfully thinking that in there. So anyway, that's TL at the moment.
Yes. That's...
Damn.
I like 100 Thieves, though. I actually like 100 Thieves. I wanted to get back to that.
Come on, let's talk about that then.
Yeah.
100 Thieves.
Well, in the Academy, they're crushing.
Sunday is crushing.
Yeah, it's Sunday.
Is too OP.
Before Sunday, they're not in nothing. With Sunday, obviously, they're killing it. Makes sense. So Kelsey got it good on that one. And Amazing's just carrying the team, flat out. You have one guy in a really strong being decisive, and it fucking wins over most teams. It's that easy.
Amazing being decisive and amazing being unengaged is clearly one of the reasons like they're winning. I have to agree with that, but I think rest of the team also really came together. Amazing was doing this like earlier in summer also, but they
not
were still
yet. It's happening. It's not there yet. It's definitely not, because they can't get lead. They're not good at getting leads.
Yeah, they're not good. Their early games are one of the worst. I think them and Echo Fox have the worst early games, but when they get into mid game, when they get into late game, like on the team fighting aspect, like you said, they are decisive and they know how to win games and they know how to close out.
That's why we do predictions, 100 Thieves, Golden Guardians. I take 100 Thieves almost all the time because I know it's gonna go late because the teams can't get leads, and then the decision making comes through and 100 Thieves wins. So if that's the benchmark for making it into playoffs, can you have late game decision making enough to beat Golden Guardians? You now beat 4 other teams. All of a sudden, you're a playoff team just because you have late game decision making.
Crumbz, remember, that was the original MO of 100 Thieves last year. That was the whole thing. By the time it got to the summer, all they would do is the game would go 40 minutes and then they would win by just having slightly better macro.
You know how we talk about TL as like this is a team with like 30 years, 20 years of experience between them? Other than Fake God, everyone on 100 Thieves are not just veterans, they're like extreme veterans with like almost all of them with 5 years plus experience playing League of Legends. So their decision making and when they get to mid and late game is crisp and they do know what to do. It's just, can they execute on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's already good enough to be at halfway through the league, flat out, which should tell you that it's not that hard to be the LCS.
How far?
That's also why I would have to imagine that they had such problems. Because think about it, right? Like I said with this team, and in fact, all of Prolee's teams that I've seen always have solid macro across the map. Like they always understand how to side lane correctly. They can always get to the team fight scenarios. So I would guess one of the problems they had was exactly what you're saying, Loco. Think of all the veteran players they had. Like if they just aren't ever even getting into that position in a game, as a coach, like at that point, you're coaching like individual players. Like, hello, player who's played 5 years and was very good. Why are you bad now? It's like, as a coach, that's a nightmare scenario, trying to deal with like 3 or 4 players at once. So you're all like literally almost trying to tell them how to do their role in the game. It's way easier. I'd much rather have like disparate individuals and I'm trying to bring them together. And here's the bigger picture. It's the nightmare is the opposite. We have to get all the veterans and teach them to fucking pick their play up. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah. So you have to confront them, especially if they haven't even accepted that they're shit.
Sure.
You got to be like, hey, listen, buddy, I got all these stats at least, because you got to build a resume of this is why. You can't just go up and say you're shit. You got to be backing that up, being like, this is why you're bad. This is what we can do to make you work better. And if you don't do that, you're going to immediately lose the respect of the player right away. Fucking thing goes downhill. You can't coach him anymore. Starts permeating through the rest of the team. Now all the other veterans don't trust your shit. So it would take a while to convince these guys that they needed to step it up.
I think one aspect that really was like a downer for them in spring is like when you think Afromu, I don't think like someone that's like spectacular in lane. I think Afro is decent to average in lane, but Afro's like decision making when it comes to picks, Afro's shot calling, Afro's team fighting, like Afro's more like I guess out of game skills also, like
being a captain, leadership.
Those are all like what makes Afro such a valuable player, and none of that gets to like come to fruition if you can't make it out of lane in like a state where the game was playable. So that's why I think Afro looked so bad in spring, and then in summer he's not back to like old Afro, but we're seeing a lot more of it.
I mean, he's got a lane with a guy that
So world champion.
It's probably Okay, yes, he's a world champion, but
2 times.
You think he went to 100? You think you go to 100 Thieves with world champion in your eyes? You don't leave SKT, come to NA thinking championship again. This is the year we do it. We're gonna repeat it in North America. Get the fuck out of here.
I think.
Come on.
At that point,
that's not true.
Here. I agree with you completely. I don't think that's his primary. Like if he's trying to win championships, then you take less money, like you go to a team with good rosters, but you start bargaining like with yourself, like, oh, like I want to go to NA, oh, like here are the teams that can join 100 Thieves, like they have great name, like they're willing to pay more. Like none of the players ever like consciously think I'm going here to cash out. Like they start bargaining against themselves. They tell themselves, no, I still really want to win, but I'm gonna take more money. I'm okay playing with worse teammates.
Yeah, they lie to themselves.
Yeah, they lie to themselves.
In a way.
So I 100% agree with you. That's
we all
what
do that, so I don't have a problem with lying to yourself.
Exactly. Like Loco trying to convince himself that not being able to spend 10 seconds putting his bed in order when he gets out of the room isn't indicative of how he's lived his whole motherfucking life. But no, there was that one time though he got into that uni though, so I guess it's all fine, right? Do you say that when you fucking come too fast as well? What the fuck are you talking about? Like,
wait, I genuinely don't think like making a
room, dude.
What?
Look at your clothes on this side. I mean, just the fact that you're even willing to risk having the camera aimed at your bedroom, I like already like, whoa, like here.
What do you mean? What?
Man, here's the only thing. I'm just gonna say, Loco.
What?
Here's the thing: you would never live it down if under your bed now there was like a balled up tissue.
There.
you would never live it down. Let's face it. Luckily, there isn't. Like, it all looks legit there. Like, you've obviously cleaned up. So well, there's the one thing I bet he does fucking clean up.
What? The bed?
It's all the peripherals. The accessories that a young man needs, exactly, to live a modern, independent life.
Wait, like...
And watch Sex in the City.
I love Sex
in the City. You watch
Sex
in the City? Why did I even need to ask?
I used to love that show.
Wait,
only because...
did you guys not like Sex in the City?
No, I'm telling you, I legitimately did used to love it, and here's why. Because it was on when I was about 17, and it was on after a show I liked, and before a show I liked after that, and it lasted, I'm going to guess, half an hour. And listen, I didn't follow a lot of the plot.
Oh, you did.
Because, fuck, I even forget the character names, but I love the characters. I love
the best one was that woman. She was called
the blonde boss ass bitch. The blonde boss ass bitch. I forget her name.
She was the best. What was her name?
Oh, fuck. Damn. I like the redheaded
Sandra or something. I'm sure it was beginning with S, wasn't it?
Samantha. Yeah, it is Samantha.
Samantha. There we go. She was an absolute. And that was the best thing about her. She was amazing. Best character in the show.
Yeah, she reminds me of female Thor. I guess that's what you would be like if you were a girl.
I wish I met someone like that. She seemed like the shit, mate. She's so upfront, you know. She was holding it up a little bit, but you know, whatever. We've all done that.
I love Desperate Housewives and Sex and the City were like prime like television like. Because I lived in Texas and we didn't get like a lot of channels because my parents didn't want to pay for like extra cable, so we only had like the basic ass shows, and those were on like the basic ass channels, and I loved those shows growing up.
Well, that explains a lot about who you are as a person now.
What actually?
That's where it all began.
Watching.
Imagine that Loco was watching fucking Desperate Housewives and Sex in the City and going, I'm learning about American culture. This is who I'm going to become. No, I think we know it explains everything. That explains everything.
Wait,
unexpectedly.
Just all the drama and all that, yeah.
What drama? My life is drama-free. It's been a drama-free 2019.
Just
literally sleeping with all the people in your life.
You have to say it's a drama-free year means it's not a drama-free year.
I know.
Drama-free 2019. If I say it enough, it'll be true.
Worked out with the whole TSM winning split. Oh, by the way, Crumbz, this is also so delicious. No, what's great is at the beginning of this split, we made a bet. I picked Team Liquid to win the split, and he picked TSM.
Duncan.
So I'm loving my side of the bet so far. I know.
Dude,
I'm loving my side.
He got me at a vulnerable state. Duncan, you proposed that bet to me at a vulnerable state. I was in the league. I was...
You
fucking conned me into paying a flight for someone to an event.
Permanently vulnerable. But dude, I learned that shit the hard way. First split I got in, I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I think this team could do well. I think Team Liquid could be upset. And then after like 2 weeks, it's like, you know what? No, it's just Team Liquid. There's nobody else. Team Liquid all the way.
There we go.
I'm on that boat. No,
So you know what, Loco?
What?
I guess in this one case, you've actually made your bed, so you may as well lie in it.
Sure.
Anyway, that wasn't bad. It was pretty decent. Yeah.
How far do you think Optic's gonna fall? Do you think Optic does make playoffs?
No, I think they make playoffs. Because listen, dude, the benchmark. It's not a benchmark of inherent goodness. It's like how you run away from the bear. You don't have to be fast. Just be faster than the slowest guy. That's it. Go. They just have to be 6th place, which means better than 4 teams.
And like, who are you?
And let's be real, by the way. Think about this for a second. Like, the mad thing, obviously, about the Optic team is, like, this sounds mad, but just having a really good mid laner and a fucking good jungler, that is actually enough. In NA, that is enough. If those, especially because the key thing with those two players is they're totally self-directed. Like, they don't know how they want to play the game. So, like, that's an indictment of LCS.
Let me tell you, that's how we qualify from fucking Renegades and Misfits. Just put your eggs in the mid jungle basket, and the rest will play itself out. It works. It's worked a million times. Look at all the winning rosters. What roster that wins Worlds does not have a strong mid jungle? None. It's never happened.
They at least have good synergy. I don't think Bengi was the strongest jungler, but I agree. They at least
at the time, Bengi Faker was the best 2v2. What?
Yeah, I mean, I think I still wouldn't say Bengi is a strong jungle, but Bengi Faker, their fucking synergy is legendary. Their second time around Bengi was nowhere near that.
Dude, the second you have a mid lane jungle that is willing to tower dive at level 3, the other mid laner, you win so many more games. You win so many more. Like, it rarely happens, right? It's always tower dive top, tower dive bottom, but nobody has the balls to go for the mid lane tower dive except the really good teams. When you see that shit happen, that's when you know you're dealing with a next level team. And it's the two most important roles to have a stable team, and it works with Optic, and it's gonna get them to 6th place. They're better than Froggen and Contracts. That's good enough to be Golden Guardians.
Agreed.
Why do you think they struggled last week?
What was it? Dokla Twisted Fate top?
Yeah, it was the 100 Thieves. The one they lost to 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I mean, why the fuck are you putting Dokla on Twisted Fate top?
I don't know. You have Poppy, you have Malphite, you have Malphite.
You know, that's the one problem I have with
lost against Clutch.
I've got to say, that's one thing I have an issue with the Optic Gaming guys. Because like I said, from the things I've heard, I've actually heard good things about that Zabatine guy who's the coach. Obviously, Croissant's a person we've had on the show who's the analyst for the team. Like, these are guys I consider smart guys who can talk about the game, think about the game. Some of the things they've done generally with Dokla and this team just baffle me. I don't know how they see this player so differently from me, but like I would literally, if I was playing in his team, I would sack his lane
24/7.
Exactly.
He's a sick Poppy.
He would only play that champion. The rest of the game, I'm just sacking it. He's getting all the shit picked because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
They do stuff like Irelia Sejuani top lane and never gank for the Irelia. It's not like whenever they pick these carry lane champions,
that was in spring. That was in spring.
It's not like they pick carry champions and they play towards it. They pick carry champions and they just let it be anyways. Just pick the tank.
Dude, yeah, like the thing is, he's a good tank to be left alone. Like, it's not even that you're saying, oh, he's shit and I don't want to gank him and want to not be. It's like his strength as a player is being on a tank that is left alone. Just do that. Is that so hard? To just stick to a plan and be like, oh, okay, when we're going, because I think all these teams, they're all trying to be chameleons. They're all trying to be fucking in each other's heads, think, oh, they don't know what we're going to draft. We're not going to give away. We're going to change things up, and we're going to surprise them because they think we're going to leave Dokla alone. But today, it's Twisted Fate top. Never see this shit coming, and that's going to win us the game. Like, no. Just do the reps of fucking Poppy top, and all of a sudden, you've got yourself a solid strategy that you can bank on. It's like CLG when they had Huhi mid playing Aurelion Sol. What a surprise. They're going to run Aurelion Sol again for the millionth time. You forgot, you lost the game. That's what should happen. You forgot to ban Dokla and Poppy, or you wasted time going top as the enemy thinking that Optic was going to care. Surprise. You lost the game because you fell into their trap. There's nothing wrong with that, but no team wants to stick to a style which it's just so baffling. Like, they keep they change faster than their own good. They change too quickly to even see their own result of their efforts.
Who's your 6th then? Who's your 6th in playoffs?
So my playoffs are TL, C9, CLG, TSM, Optic, and 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves.
So GGS drops out.
GGS. Yeah. Who else would be? So your dropped out teams are GGS, Echo Fox, Golden Guardians, and Clutch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the 3 teams like that are fighting for a spot are Golden Guardians, Optic, and 100 Thieves, and Clutch actually.
Yes.
4 teams fighting for 2 spots.
You and in that case, wouldn't you take playoffs 100 Thieves? You got you've got the veteran status. You got the guys that have been through it a gazillion times. They close out late. If the games go late, they'll have the stamina. They're not going to choke.
I have to see the strength of schedule for all the teams, but I like what you're telling me regarding 100 Thieves, and I don't like what Golden Guardians are doing.
Trust me, at the start of the year, at the start of the split, I was not on the 100 Thieves train. I was off it. I was being like, get the fuck off this train. It's going to be dead last, but they've proved me wrong. I got to change my attitude.
We didn't talk about Clutch at all, but where is Clutch for you? Like, this team is, when you're selling your org and you're selling majority shares and people are getting cut all around you, and you also have like a mid-split coaching change, I'm surprised like they're even at this state where they can make like a push for playoffs.
Like where are they as org? I have them confused. I just don't know what to make of them right now because they're so darn inconsistent. And Huni is very hard to look at with a clear lens. That's really the hard part I have with this team is that it's fucking. How the fuck can you look at Huni and tell yourself, yes, this is what the player is at, and not even acknowledge the possibility that this is a guy that's been at the very top.
So there's like, if you never knew who Huni was before, you never ever heard of Huni before, and during summer he played under a different account name. Let's say he played under an account name called Water Bottle, and you had to guess right now who this player was. Who would you guess? Like you don't.
What do you mean by the guess what the player is part?
So you don't get to see this player's face. You get to see all. You get to see all his gameplay. You don't get to see his nameplate. And right now, like I.
Do you mean like who? Like not like obviously his identity. You mean like as a player, what qualities would he have? How do you describe him?
Who would you guess like this player as? What's his identity? If I didn't know it was Huni, and I had to guess like just from the playstyle and from the picks that he's been playing, and the kind of results that he's having, I would think it's Darshan. It looks so similar to
very
Darshan.
limited champion pool. Has to have all the resources. Like there's definitely like a very limited approach.
Yeah, so it's somebody. It's not so much Darshan because Darshan would at least.
You cut out for the last 5 seconds. Sorry.
It wouldn't be Darshan because I think Darshan was a little bit more meta for me.
Okay.
Honestly, it looks like a pretty good academy prospect niche player.
Voy.
Kinda. I mean, it looks like an academy player that is like, oh. It's like, oh, okay, look at that. But you're like, nah, but he's really only doing Cassiopeia Rumble. Like, nah, he's really only doing this. And occasionally he's running it down. So it doesn't really look like anybody. It's his own weird way, and it blows, though, because his best champion is Rumble, and then I watch a Rumble game where he misses every equalizer. Flat out misses every equalizer. I'm like, what can you say?
Well, I'm surprised none of you guys said Darshan because, like, compared to Spring Darshan...
Well, Darshan is actually the same description of that I just gave you, which is a pretty good and promising academy player with a somewhat niche champion pool.
Maybe. In Spring, like, it's just like Spring Darshan. Draw a lot of resource in terms of picks, in terms of ganks. Don't get much done for your team, and lose when it gets to team fight.
I don't think he draws that many resources. I can get the stats on Saturday of the jungle proximity for Unian. I think they just leave him alone. I really don't think they're going up there that much.
So maybe not jungle proximity wise, but counter pick wise, Huni's getting so much.
Okay, sure.
He's getting to play stuff like Cassio into Jace, a lot of like these counter picks that require a lot of jungle help. I guess he plays it without jungle help, and he's just failing miserably on it and drawing resource and fucking the team.
Okay, yeah, that we all know that's what he's doing, but I can't blame him entirely. Like that team has a whole lot of problems, especially when you just made that swap, you just have a new organization. Like there's just so fucking much, and you know as well as I do that a ton of the plays of the team often is just stemming from the organizations from the very top. Like from the top of the organization, you can usually tell how well the team is going to be. If you can tell how involved Jack and Steve are with their teams. What a surprise. Hugely successful. Same with Carlos. What a surprise. Hugely successful. Look at the guys in Fnatic. What a surprise. They're all super involved with the team. All the other teams that don't do so well, where are their GMs? Where are their staff? Where are the people involved? They're nowhere to be found. Memeing somewhere, playing TFT, who the fuck knows? It always happens. It always happens that if you're top end, it doesn't work well, you don't play. And the best thing for it actually was, I think it was Meteos that might have told me about this, where you're at boot camp, right? You're at your Korean boot camp, and you've got your coach watching over it. Right? Standard. You might run it down, not a big deal. But now how do you play if you've got Jack watching behind you, the guy that actually pays the bills? How are you going to play your practice? I guarantee you are going to practice a hell of a whole lot different having the guy that can legitimately say, you know what, I don't want to give this guy more money. No, I don't want to do it anymore. If he sees you slacking off, that shit's going to drastically impact you. So the influence of the people that actually pay the bills on the teams is very big, and it's something that's usually not seen.
Anyway, my take on that whole playoff angle is, because I agree, the three obvious teams that are deciding between two slots is Optic, 100 Thieves, GGS. Those look like the teams. Like Clutch could, in theory, make some miracle run, but a lot of the wins they've had haven't looked that legit to me. Yeah. So the big problem is, of the two out of the three, well, the real weird part is obviously 100 Thieves is the one with worst record, so they have the most to do overall. They have to win an extra game or whatever. But I kind of agree with Crumbz. If you look at just the basics of how they're winning the game, it looks fairly replicable, to be honest. Like, as long as you can get to that point in the game, that's where so many of the NA teams have weaknesses. You can actually win a lot of games off that. So I could see 100 Thieves making it. Between GGS and Optic, I think that's a coin flip to me, because the problem is, like, GGS, I think, has a style that works. I think they'll still grind out enough wins to do it. Problem is, Optic, when they look good, look way better. But the problem is, they also have a lot of games where it just misfires and that doesn't happen. The jungle and mid doesn't pop off.
It's not even the mid. It's like a not even like a miss. It's more like the gun doesn't even go off. It's like, oh shit. It's like, I guess it's air.
I think when Optic starts fucking up, like, they'll crumble. I can't see this team, like, dealing with, like, the stress and, like, when things don't work. Like, I'm not sure how they're going to be able to solve things.
What do you mean? That was their entire spring. Their entire spring was that.
What?
That's why I'm a bit skeptical as to whether it'll be Optic, because, like, the difference is, like, you've seen GGS at their worst. They still get wins somehow. They can still at least play around specific players. I think it's a bit harder for Optic, personally.
I mean, Crumbz, if their entire spring was, like, them crumbling because they couldn't figure shit out, I feel like that's the Optic we're going to see again if they start, like, the game changes, especially with 9.14, and they can't figure shit out. I don't think this is going to be a team with a lot of tenacity or endurance.
I mean, probably not, but they're still going to make playoffs, just because you got a good jungle and a good mid to work with.
Who's your leadership figures on this team? Like, one thing I can at least say for 100
That's Meteos.
Meteos compared to, like...
Meteos is like Wolverine, mate. He's not a leader, is he? Yeah. He's just the guy who turns up, he does his shit, he challenges you a bit, like, come on, punk kid, what are you going to do?
But that's the thing, that you don't need a leader. Like, the bar is not that high. Really, the bar of execution to make it is really not that high. So you don't need a full devoted leader to make it to playoffs. You just need a guy that's going to play well. Like, that's it. Can you start with playing well? Can we set the bar at being good at League of Legends and then build from that? Because I'm guaranteed not a lot of people are meeting that standard. Good at League of Legends to be good.
It's a low bar, but once you had success and then you're struggling to find success, I do think the leadership aspect and, like, how the team functions under hard time, it becomes hugely important, and that's probably what Optic's going to go through.
Well, that's up to the coaching staff, and it's going to be a challenge for them because it's a new coaching staff, right? This is their first year doing it, if I'm not mistaken. So it would definitely be their first run at playoffs, which, you learn a lot during playoffs. It's a best of 5. You're like, wait, should we change our practice schedules? We don't have to prep for BO1s for the rest of the year anymore. What do we do? So there's a lot that will have to go in, and I think a lot of it just has to get delegated to the players. You just let your players decide a lot of it. Be like, what the fuck do you guys want to do? That was Reaper's approach too, and look at what he's doing now and how it's worked Cloud9, it definitely makes sense to me. If you're trying to mastermind shit like Coma or something like that, you need to legitimately be a mastermind that's willing to put 100% of everything on yourself, and that's not for everyone. There's like 1 in a million people like that, so don't bother and just have an actual team where everybody contributes.
Yeah, I mean, even if Goma came over to NA, I think he would not do well. I think like
Of course not.
Yeah, coaching
Dude,
NA
no, it's not the-
millennials is like holy fuck.
It's the
a-
work,
yeah.
the Korean work ethic, dude. I have a friend that he's fucked off and trying to do like entrepreneurial shit on his own.
Mm-hmm.
His work ethic is literally like basically until his body gives out and then do it again. Until his body gives out and then do it again. Like the limits of practice are until I cannot possibly do it anymore. It's not whether I can do it poorly or well. It's until my body is begging me to stop, I will continue to do it.
Speaking of which, that is a perfect segue, because as great as this episode was, we have to end it now, because on my digital fan, it says that the room is indeed 30 degrees, which you don't know what that means because it's in Celsius.
I do know.
But that is way too hot. And so my body's giving out. I've done it for as long as I can. I know Loco would like that to go all the way up to 98 degrees, get some popping tunes going. Maybe people start taking their shirts off, doing coordinated dancing or something, you know. Like, that's the sort of shit he's into. It's not my life. I don't fuck with that life, but whatever. Don't judge you. God bless you. Anyway, that's enough from us. We're out. That's the end of the episode. Thanks to everyone. patreon.com/listenloco. Thanks to Crumbz for coming on. He is a prophet. That's all we need to know about this episode. Rogue would probably beat TSM.
No, they would not.
Copyright Overwatch.
Alright.
Clean your motherfucking room.
Good. Dorian, thank you so much for the great
Very
outro.
good.
Crumbs, do you have any final words before we close out the show?
No, I don't have any. Just watch CLCS and go to Framerate, actually. Framerate.gg. There you go. User submitted highlights. Win cash for your highlights.
Hashtag ad?
I mean,
If you own it, you don't have to hashtag ad.
then I do not have to hashtag ad.
Okay. Framerate.gg. Alright, thank you so much for being on the show, Crumbs. Bye.
Thanks for having me, guys.
GG. Peace.
Alright. Thank you so much to our gold Patreon supporters, ButtPounder420, Tobias Bernasconi, and Icelandic C9 fan. Without you guys, the show is impossible. And thank you so much to all other Patreon supporter. I mean, you guys also make things possible. So yeah, thank you guys so much. What a fun episode.